Chapter 29-22. After Lin Feng left, only Yuan Venerate Fugue and Yuan Venerate Yinwu remained in the Great Destitute Hall. As usual, in fact, the current 7th Mercenary Alliance was relying on the support of Yuan Venerate Fugue and Yuan Venerate Yinwu. One of them was in charge of internal affairs, while the other was in charge of external affairs. This was why the 7th Mercenary Alliance hadn't been completely weakened in such a harsh environment. I hope he doesn't do anything foolish. Yuan Venerate Fugue looked in the direction Lin Feng had left and sighed. This child is too sentimental. His strength might not be any weaker than yours or mine, Yuan Venerate Yinwu said. When we met today, I couldn't see through his strength at all. I only knew that he was Huang Zun and that he was just an ordinary person. Me too, Yuan Venerate Fugue nodded. Although the path to becoming a primal chaos venerate is difficult, one will be much stronger than cultivators of the same level once they advance. Back when Huang Quan was at Huang Zun's level, he was already comparable to a Yuan Venerate powerhouse. I believe that Lin Feng can do the same. Yuan Venerate Yinwu smiled. I guess he wants to compete with Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces. Haha, Yuan Venerate Fugue laughed. Just as I thought. However, even if the grudge between the Limitless Biology Group and the 7th Mercenary Alliance was disregarded, Lin Feng would still look for Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces. Because of your disciple? Yuan Venerate Yinwu asked. Yuan Venerate Fugue nodded. They should have already met by now. Let me introduce you. This is the second brother of the Garuda bird race's emperor, Shirwan Li. We'll eat later. Shirwan Li, this is Yi Yuan, who has been by my side since I was young. We will be good brothers from now on. Lin Feng smiled as he introduced the two of them to each other. Lin Feng was the happiest when he saw Yi Yuan this time. In order to help him, Yi Yuan had given up the 10,000 Origin Mustard Stone and used the 10,000 Chaos Stone to nurture it. It had taken nearly 1,000 eras to complete the nurturing process. Originally, the gestation process would have taken 3,000 eras. However, eldest senior brother, Yuan Venerate Fuyo, had helped Yi Yuan and accepted him as his disciple after the gestation process was complete. He had taught Yi Yuan attentively. Now, Yi Yuan was already a divine master powerhouse and was only one step away from becoming a venerable. However, compared to Shirwan Li's cultivation, the difference was like heaven and earth. To Lin Feng, strength had nothing to do with relationships. He and Yi Yuan were like brothers. Together with Shirwan Li, they were 3 brothers. Although Yi Yuan was the oldest, he was the weakest in all aspects, so he became the 3rd brother. Yi Yuan had no objections to this. After witnessing Shirwan Li's strength, he was already in awe. Big brother, 2nd brother, where are we going next? The Hongming Sea? After hearing about Lin Feng's deeds in the primordial ocean, Yi Yuan had yearned for it since a long time ago, and he yearned to see a larger world. You want to go to the Hongming Sea? Shirwan Li mumbled, his mouth stuffed with all kinds of delicacies. Hee, I have you, 2nd brother, Yi Yuan said flatteringly. Shirwan Li squinted his eyes and enjoyed it very much. When the time comes, you can sit on 2nd brother's back and go wherever you want. The Hongming Sea is nothing. 3rd brother, you don't know this, but Big Brother and I fought against 100 million people in the 100 million wheel origin realm. We beat the crap out of that army. Really? Yi Yuan's eyes lit up. Of course. 100,000 Miles picked up another gigantic dragon leg from the table and stuffed it into his mouth. He clicked his tongue and said, "This dragon leg is really tasty. It's not springy at all. I really need to use the true Samadhi fire." Lin Feng looked at Shirwan Li and Yi Yuan, who were mingling together, and his heart was filled with warmth. He was really like a brother to them. 3rd brother, Lin Feng said. Yi Yuan was slightly surprised and turned his head. Let's go and settle a grudge, Lin Feng said. Big brother, you mean? Yi Yuan's breathing quickened. Shirwan Li grabbed a dragon leg and stuffed it into his arms. Stupid. What Big Brother means is that we just want to exercise. I promised you that day that I would avenge Venerable Wan Yuan when I had the ability. Lin Feng looked at Yi Yuan as if he was looking at his younger self. Now it's time. The limitless creature's domain. It was not far from the Taichung deity realm, less than 10 light years away. The limitless creatures group seemed to be deliberately competing with the 7th Mercenary Alliance. The limitless creatures group even had a hand in the mercenary business of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Their goal was very clear, which was to squeeze the 7th Mercenary Alliance out of the Big Five and become one of the new Big Five. The limitless creatures group had succeeded. With the right time, place, and people, it was difficult not to succeed. The limitless creatures group, which was already an outstanding first-class force, had now become a new power in the universe and was secretly supported by the 7th universe's divine inquisition. No one knew that one of the invincible Yuan venerates of the limitless creatures group was the universe god of the 7th universe's divine inquisition. The battle at the Taichung deity realm had taught the 7th universe's divine inquisition a painful lesson. Isolated and without help, they had the title of the strongest force, but did not have the strength to back it up. This defeat had enlightened them. While pursuing Lin Feng and dealing with the 7th Mercenary Alliance, the 7th universe's divine inquisition was no longer aloof from the universe. Instead, they secretly supported the limitless creatures group and even helped them complete the development of gene medicine. The Hongmeng Sacred Heart Fruit, refined by Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces, was one of the treasures the universe god had obtained from the secret realm. The purpose of the 7th universe's divine inquisition was not only to maintain the operation of the universe's laws. At the same time, they also wanted to control the initiative in their own hands. The defeat at the Taichung deity realm would not happen again. Thousand Faces, how much longer will it take? The one who spoke was Yuan Venerate Qi Ershin, one of the 2 invincible Yuan Venerates of the Limitless Creatures group. His actual identity was Universe God Qi Ershin, who hoped to be a subordinate of Universe God Qi Ershin. The shortest is 10 eras, and the longest is 1,000 eras. The 7th Mercenary Alliance will definitely cease to exist. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces was a special life form with no less than 1,000 faces of various sizes. He was like a monster and was best at using illusion techniques. As a unique and powerful special life form in the universe, his innate ability was quite terrifying. Good. First, destroy the 7th Mercenary Alliance, and then dominate the 7th universe. The Limitless Creatures group will become the strongest force in the 7th universe. Yuan Venerate Limitless laughed valiantly. He was the founder of the Limitless Creatures group and had always been a first-class force for countless eras. This made Yuan Venerate Limitless flustered. This time, Yuan Venerate Limitless was going all out to cooperate with the 7th universe's divine inquisition. He would either become a monarch or be defeated. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces had all kinds of strange smiles on his face that made people shudder. He had always been ruthless and would do anything to achieve his goals. Countless Venerates had died at his hands. To Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces, all cultivators who got in his way had to die. Beep! An ear-piercing alarm sounded. The 3 great Yuan Venerates of the Limitless Creatures group looked at each other in shock. What had happened? Chapter 29-23. Blade shatters the Milky Way. Has taken a day off. Please wait for a moment. Once the content has been updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 29-24. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 3 figures instantly appeared in the hall. All of them had the aura of Yuan Venerate powerhouses. The rise of the Limitless Biology group had swallowed and roped in many second-class factions. The number of Yuan Venerate powerhouses they had was above the 7th Mercenary Alliance. There were close to 10 permanent Yuan Venerate powerhouses. Hey, what's going on? The strange horn on Yuan Venerate Limitless bald head looked terrifying. This was the first time such an alarm had sounded in the Limitless Biology domain. Yuan Venerate Chang's body was like a jellyfish, as his voice seemed to come from the water. Cultivators from other factions have barged into the Limitless Biology domain and are on a killing spree. Oh, Yuan Venerate Qi Ershin was surprised. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces laughed strangely. Which faction is so blind as to provoke the limitless biology group? Yuan Venerate Gu Ertai, who was beside Yuan Venerate Chong, said loudly, "I don't know their origin." "What do you mean?" Yuan Venerate Limitless didn't understand. Only a first-class faction would dare to wage war against the limitless biology group. How could he not know their origin? How many powerhouses have come? Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces asked. 3. Yuan Venerate Chong immediately reported after receiving the news. A human, a bird-type demon, and a chaotic stone life form. The strongest is a peak Yuan Venerate from the bird-type demon. Peak Yuan Venerate. Yuan Venerate Limitless said solemnly. The strength of any peak Yuan Venerate couldn't be underestimated. Including him, the limitless biology group only had 3 peak Yuan Venerates. It could be said that the strength of a peak Yuan Venerate represented the strength of a major faction. An unknown peak Yuan Venerate? Yuan Venerate Qi Ershin was curious. The origin universe was only so big, so peak Yuan Venerates could be counted on one hand. There was no reason not to know them. They might have used some treasure to change their appearance. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces sneered. A bird-type demon and a peak Yuan Venerate at that. There is only Yuan Venerate Kangji in the entire origin universe. Yuan Venerate Kangji has no reason to attack us. Yuan Venerate Limitless shook his head. We will know once we exchange blows. One's aura can't be concealed. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces didn't care. Yuan Venerate Kangji. How strong the other human and the chaotic stone life form are. Are they mid-level or high-level Yuan Venerates? Yuan Venerate Chong said in a strange tone, that human is the sovereign. Huangzun, Yuan Venerate Qi Ershin, Yuan Venerate Limitless, and Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces were all stunned. What about the chaos stone life form? Yuan Venerate Limitless frowned. Yuan Venerate Ka opened his mouth and his body trembled. After a while, he said, "It's the Divine Master." Boom, boom. The entire infinite biological domain was suffering an unprecedented catastrophe. A huge bird with a body length of 1,000,000 miles covered the sky and covered the earth. Its black and white wings were filled with powerful energy, and there was a strange mark on its forehead, exuding an indescribable dominance. With a flap of the black and white, dark golden wings, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. Countless spatial blades swept out and killed the venerables one by one. As for those below the venerable level, they could not even get close. Those with weaker cultivations could not even withstand Sherwan Li's high-pitched cry. What contained was a powerful will impact. However, Sherwan Li was not proficient in will impacts. After fusing with the bloodline of the master of 100 million wheels, his attacks had naturally increased a little. That little bit was already domineering enough. After all, Sherwan Li was a peak Yuan Venerate powerhouse. In terms of will impacts, Lin Feng, who was standing on Sherwan Li's back, was the expert. Even a godly Venerate would not be able to withstand the impact of his perfect Source Heart force combined with the Qin Emperor's Origin Heart, let alone a Venerate. However, Lin Feng did not make a move. Firstly, he did not like this kind of slaughter. Secondly, even if he did, his efficiency would not be 1,000th of Sherwan Li's. Sherwan Li, who was 1,000,000 miles long, had a domineering offensive power. After fusing with the bloodline of the master of 100 million wheels, even Lin Feng did not know how strong he was. He only knew that he was not inferior to him. After all, Sherwan Li had obtained all the inheritance of the master of 100 million wheels. The huge black and white, dark golden wings swept across and wreaked havoc, turning the entire infinite biological corporation into ruins. They are here. Lin Feng's eyes lit up when he sensed the arrival of several Yuan Venerate auras. Yuan, who was beside him, trembled slightly. It was unknown whether he was excited or nervous, but there was deep hatred in his eyes. He had been waiting for this day for a long time. Grandfather. Venerate Wan Yuan was Yuan's only relative. Yuan even valued his grandfather's life more than his own. He had vowed to do everything in his power to avenge his grandfather. Today, the murderer who had killed his grandfather would appear. Yuan was not worried that he would not be able to avenge his grandfather. After seeing the terrifying strength of his second brother, Shi Wanli, he completely believed that his second brother would be able to avenge him. Yuan glanced gratefully at his big brother, Lin Feng, the original owner. He knew that if Lin Feng had not spoken, his second brother would not have gotten involved in this mess. This was the Infinite Biological Corporation, the encampment of the 5 major figureheads. The 3 of them coming here to cause trouble was like striking a rock with an egg. When Lin Feng had suggested this, Yuan had been completely confused and had come here in a daze. He had been worried, nervous, afraid, and inexplicably expectant. Yuan had only calmed down a little when he had seen the might of his second brother, Shi Wanli. However, he could not help but worry. After all, no matter how strong his second brother was, he only had a pair of wings and a pair of claws. He was only a peak Yuan venerate. This was the encampment of the Infinite Biological Corporation. This was the new top-notch force that had pushed the 7th Mercenary Alliance out of the 5 major figureheads. His teacher had told him that the Infinite Biological Corporation had more than 20 unit venerate powerhouses and 3 peak Yuan venerates, each stronger than the last. Excluding the Almighties, the overall strength of the Infinite Biological Corporation was even stronger than the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Run! This giant bird is too terrifying. Oh my God, someone save me. Everyone in the Infinite Biological domain was wailing. The calamity that suddenly descended was like a heavenly tribulation, and it was unavoidable. The power of the giant bird that was 1,000,000 miles long was terrifying. In a short period of time, more than 100,000 venerables had died under its wings, and countless divine master experts had died. There were also powerhouses like Huang Zun and godly venerate powerhouses. These super powerhouses, who were usually high and mighty in their eyes, could not even get close to this giant bird. They could not even touch a single strand of its hair. How terrifying was that? Yuan Venerate Kangji, please stop. Yuan Venerate Limitless arrived with a furious look on his face. Anyone who saw such a situation would have flipped out. The encampment that he had painstakingly developed had been destroyed in a day. However, Yuan Venerate Limitless still hoped that things could be settled peacefully. If there was a misunderstanding, offending a peak Yuan Venerate was not something any faction would be willing to do. Stop my ass. Wanli did not even look at Yuan Venerate Limitless. Instead, the mark on his forehead burst open and swept toward Yuan Venerate Limitless. Yuan Venerate Limitless was sent flying before he could even react. Mobile version update website. Chapter 2925. Yuan Venerate Qi Urshin. Exclamation point. Yuan Venerate 1,000 faces. Question mark. Yuan Venerate Limitless. This sudden turn of events left all the venerables of the Limitless Biology Corporation dumbfounded. They had seen their boss, the founder of the Limitless Biology Corporation, the renowned peak Yuan Venerate Limitless, appear. They had been waiting for him to turn the tide, but had not expected him to be defeated in one move. What a terrifying power! Yuan Venerate Limitless was shocked. The other venerates had only seen him being defeated in one move. However, he had still been some distance away from the giant bird and had already prepared his defenses. Even so, it had still been difficult for him to block this attack. It would have been hard to imagine if this had been a close-range battle. No, it's definitely not Yuan Venerate Kangji. Yuan Venerate Limitless was very clear about Yuan Venerate Kangji's strength. Yuan Venerate Kangji was at most on par with him, so there was no reason for Yuan Venerate Kangji to be this strong. Although it had only been a brief exchange, Yuan Venerate Limitless knew very well that the giant bird's strength was above his. May I know which senior has graced us with his presence? Yuan Venerate 1,000 Faces had a flattering smile on his face. He had seen Shi Wanli make a move with his own eyes and knew that the giant bird before him was no pushover. Whoosh! Yuan Venerate 1,000 Faces cursed under his breath as a violent space blade swept out. He had already retreated far away when he saw Yuan venerate Limitless being defeated. However, he had not expected that he would still feel pain from the contact, even from such a distance. This made Yuan venerate Thousand Faces even more shocked. Garuda bird. Yuan venerate Qi Urshin had a grave expression on his face. Yuan venerate Thousand Faces and Yuan venerate Limitless were from Universe 7 and had little knowledge of the Hongmeng Sea. They did not recognize the Garuda bird, but they knew that the Garuda bird was considered a very strong demonic life form in the Hongmeng Sea. However, the Garuda bird only existed in the Hongmeng Sea and did not exist in Universe 7. Where had this Garuda bird come from? Hold on. Yuan venerate Qi Urshin's heart skipped a beat, and his face turned pale. He suddenly recalled a video he had seen previously. It had been of a huge battle outside the 100 million wheel origin realms. In the video had also been a peak Yuan venerate Garuda bird. Furthermore, great Ian god. Lin Feng leaped off Shirwan Li's back and appeared in front of Yuan venerate Qi Urshin. Lin Feng had fought with the divine adjudicator of cosmos 7 more than once or twice, so he could easily distinguish whether he was an ordinary peak Yuan venerate or a great eternity god. With Lin Feng's mental cultivation ability, even an almighty being would be able to pry into his secrets, let alone a mere Ian god. No wonder the Infinity Biology group rose so quickly. Lin Feng understood everything the moment he saw Yuan venerate Qi Urshin. Everything was the result of the ambition and revenge of Universe 7's divine tribunal. Lin Feng glanced at Yuan venerate Limitless before finally looking at Yuan venerate Thousand Faces. Ha! Yuan, who had shrunk his body and was standing on Lin Feng's shoulder, gritted his teeth. Even in his dreams, he wanted to meet Yuan venerate Thousand Faces and avenge his grandfather. He was the one who killed his grandfather, Venerable Wan Yuan. Yuan's eyes turned bloodshot as he roared. Yuan venerate Thousand Faces frowned, completely unable to understand what a chaotic stone life form was shouting at him for. He had merely borrowed the power of a chaotic stone to be reborn. How could a mere almighty shout at him? Humph! Yuan venerate Thousand Faces snorted coldly as his numerous faces looked at Yuan. Illusions appeared like shadows as he tried to kill this almighty chaotic stone life form. However, at that moment, boom, Yuan venerate Thousand Faces' head shook violently, followed by endless pain. Yuan venerate Thousand Faces' face contorted in pain as though he had punched an extremely hard meteorite. Even the Hongmeng sacred heart fruit was trembling. This was the fear that came from the depths of his soul. This was a completely crushing power. Plop! Yuan venerate Thousand Faces, who was completely unable to withstand this terrifying power, knelt on the ground. Countless emotions appeared on his thousands of faces. There was confusion, fear, and there seemed to be a pair of invisible hands pressing down on his head from the void, making him unable to move at all. Cold sweat trickled down his back as his soul trembled. Yuan venerate Thousand Faces knew that this was not the doing of the chaotic stone life form, nor was it the doing of the giant bird. It was the doing of the inconspicuous human, Huang Zun. His thoughts were jumbled up, and Yuan venerate Thousand Faces was instantly enlightened. Lin Feng. Yuan venerate Qian Urshin gulped, unable to move. If Yuan venerate Thousand Faces could recognize Lin Feng, how could he not recognize this terrifying fiend? This was the monster that had turned the entire universe 7 divine punishment hall upside down. Huang Zun had made a name for himself in the Hongmeng Ocean with his body. Now, in the Taichu, his reputation was even more resounding than that of ordinary universe rulers. Even the 3 universe gods were no match for Lin Feng, let alone Yuan venerate Thousand Faces. The elites of the 13 Corps had been completely annihilated. Those were almighties. At that moment, Yuan venerate Qian Urshin only had one thought in his mind: run. Just as his figure changed, his sea of consciousness shook violently, and an unstoppable force directly annihilated him. His aura went from peak to extinction in an instant. Pung! Yuan venerate Qian Erxin fell heavily to the ground. As his spiritual aura was annihilated, the disguise on his body also dissipated, revealing the unique universe imprint of the universe god. Silence reigned. Sherwanli had already stopped attacking, but the shock he caused at that moment was even greater than when he had attacked. Each of the 3 peak Yuan venerates of the Limitless Biology Corporation could do whatever they wanted in the primal universe. Even the 5 big shots had to be wary of them. However, in that short moment, one had been sent flying and injured, one had knelt on the ground and trembled, and the last had died. Big Brother. Yuan's shock was no less than that of the venerates of the Limitless Biology Corporation. When Yuan venerate Thousand Faces had used the illusion technique on him, Yuan had already woken up. That was an illusion technique of a peak Yuan venerate. Even someone as strong as Yuan venerate Yinwu had fallen for it, let alone a mere almighty. However, he hadn't fallen for it. In fact, he hadn't even felt anything. This was because a soul power much greater than Yuan venerate Thousand Faces had blocked his path. His former master, his current big brother, Lin Feng. Sway. Yuan venerate Thousand Faces had knelt on the ground, and Yuan venerate Qi Erxin's soul had been destroyed. Yuan would be too stupid if he still didn't understand. After all, he knew very well that his second brother, Sherwanli, was an expert in close combat and definitely not in the Soul Sky Dao. Only his big brother, Lin Feng, could do this. At such a close distance, Yuan could clearly feel how strong Lin Feng was. He had easily turned the situation around and controlled the winds and clouds. He had treated peak Yuan venerates as nothing. So impressive. Big Brother is really impressive. Yuan found it hard to imagine that the little fellow from back then had now become a big shot who could shake the universe with a stomp of his feet. Yuan venerate Thousand Faces, who had once been insufferably arrogant in front of his grandfather. Yuan venerate Wan Yuan could only kneel before him now. Of course, he wasn't admitting his mistake. He just couldn't get up. Yuan venerate Thousand Faces was like an ant in front of Lin Feng. The universe was just that realistic. The strong lived, and the weak died. Mobile version update website. M. Chapter 29-26. Taichung Deity Realm, Taichung Hall. Buzz. Yuan venerate Yinwu stepped out of space and shouted anxiously at Yuan venerate Fugue, who was flipping through books. Fugue, something has happened. Oh, what's the matter? Yuan venerate Fugue looked up. Yuan venerate Yinwu's breathing quickened as his eyes widened. He slammed his hands on the hardest metal table in the universe. Lin Feng has gone to the Boundless Creature domain. Directly to the Boundless Creature domain to look for Yuan venerate Thousand Faces. Yuan venerate Fugue frowned. He had thought that Lin Feng would challenge Yuan venerate Thousand Faces. He hadn't expected him to be so direct. Going to someone else's territory to challenge them directly was actually very disadvantageous for Lin Feng. No. Yuan venerate Yinwu's perfect source power gushed out of his hands and shattered the hardest metal table in the universe. Yuan venerate Fugue looked at Yuan venerate Yinwu solemnly. He had a bad premonition. Lin Feng is now in the Boundless Creature domain, going on a killing spree. Yuan venerate Yinwu said through gritted teeth. "Pa!" The book in his hand fell to the ground as Yuan venerate Fugue stood up in shock. Too reckless. Yuan venerate Fugue hadn't thought much of what Lin Feng had said previously. He knew that his junior brother wasn't an impulsive and reckless person. If it had been his second junior brother who was poor, he might have done something earth-shattering. His junior brother had always done things prudently. But now, his junior brother had done something that even his second junior brother hadn't done when he was poor. Lin Feng is too impulsive. Yuan venerate Yinwu had a grave expression. The Boundless Creature group is inextricably linked to the seventh universe. If we could take back the initiative by force, we would have done so long ago. Furthermore, starting a war in the seventh universe will arouse the disgust of other forces and make other neutral powerhouses stand on the side of the Boundless Creature group. Muddle-headed. Lin Feng is too muddle-headed. Not only will this not help the 7th Mercenary Alliance, but it will also make things worse. Yuan Venerate Fuyo shook his head. Don't say any more. Inform the other Yuan Venerates immediately. We will rush over first and resolve this matter later. Right now, we have to rescue Lin Feng. The 7th Divine Court will definitely take action once he appears. Don't forget, the Divine Judgment Warrant is still in place. Any cultivator who can kill Lin Feng will be able to obtain a Hongmeng source item. In the Typunitive Sovereign Realm, everyone will give teacher some face, but in the infinite biological domain. Alas, Yuan Venerate Fu sighed helplessly. Second junior brother was already willful enough due to his poverty. Who would have thought that little junior brother Lin Feng would go from bad to worse? It was true that birds of a feather flock together. Whoosh, whoosh, the two of them left in an instant and rushed to the infinite biological domain. The infinite biological domain was in a mess. Ever since Shi Wanli had appeared, he had been sweeping through everything. Although there was a power limit in Universe 7, it was easy for a peak Yuan Venerate to slaughter the infinite biological corporation. If it hadn't been for the power shackles of the universe, Yuan Venerate Limitless wouldn't have only been injured by Shi Wanli's attack. In the 100 million wheel origin realms, even ordinary almighties couldn't withstand Shi Wanli's attack, let alone a peak Yuan Venerate. This was also why the 7th Divine Court had always been able to hold a high position in the origin universe. Even almighties couldn't do anything to them. Given Yuan Venerate Qi Erxin's strength, it would be very difficult to kill him under the circumstances of his power being limited. However, Lin Feng was different. Lin Feng had used his Source Spirit Impact. The most direct Source Spirit Impact didn't have a power limit. Therefore, Lin Feng had been able to instantly kill Yuan Venerate Qi Erxin and make Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces kneel on the ground. Whether it was the Source Spirit Impact or the Intent Impact, Lin Feng had far exceeded the peak power of Universe 7. Even an almighty would be useless, let alone a peak Yuan Venerate. The current Lin Feng was absolutely invincible in the origin universe. Yuan Venerate Qi Erxin hadn't misjudged Lin Feng. No matter how dangerous the situation was, Lin Feng wouldn't lose his rationality and act impulsively. Lin Feng had dared to come to the limitless biological domain because he was 100% confident. Third brother, go and do what you've always wanted to do. The war blade dust appeared in Lin Feng's hand. It was connected to Lin Feng's mind and had been refined a long time ago. The unique Hongmeng airflow circulated. The moment the war blade dust appeared, all the venerates present widened their eyes. What was this? The legendary Hongmeng source item. Can I do it? Yuan stared at Lin Feng in disbelief. After receiving an affirmative look from Lin Feng, Yuan clenched his fists and his face flushed red. He jumped off Lin Feng's shoulder and returned to his normal size. Clang! The war blade dust seemed to have a mind of its own as it landed in Yuan's hand. At that moment, Yuan felt that he had boundless power. He could control the Hongmeng war blade in his hand. Step! Step! Yuan took heavy steps without any fear. Even though the person in front of him was a peak Yuan Venerate, so powerful that even Yuan Venerate Yinwu wasn't a match for him, Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces was kneeling on the ground and trembling all over. He couldn't even lift his head. The difference in strength was too great. There's a world of difference. With his big brother Lin Feng and second brother Wanli behind him, Yuan's heart was filled with confidence. His bloodshot eyes, which were filled with hatred, flashed with the memories of him and his grandfather. He had never thought that there would be a day when he would be able to kill his enemy and avenge his grandfather. Thousand Faces, not far away, Yuan Venerate Limitless shouted as if he wanted to awaken Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces. The other Venerate, gods Huang Zun, didn't dare move at all. They had already been scared silly by the terrifying strength of Lin Feng and Shi Wanli. Whoosh. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces seemed to have awakened. All sorts of emotions appeared on his countless faces as he struggled desperately. All his fear and unwillingness were overflowing with words. However, It was as if he'd been tied up tightly by an invisible rope. Blood kept seeping out his skin. He couldn't move. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces was like a criminal waiting to be executed. No one could save him, not even Yuan Venerate Limitless. The person in charge of the Limitless Biology Group was currently being watched by Shi Wanli. He would be consigned to eternal damnation if he moved. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces. Yuan's hoarse voice contained deep anger. Do you remember the person who died at your hands back then? Venerate Wan Yuan. Crack! Yuan gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Tears of blood flowed from his bloodshot eyes as he screamed hysterically. The dust blade in his hand revolved around Hongming's airflow and clanged violently. Amidst Yuan's heart-wrenching roar, the blade came crashing down. Puffed. Blood splattered everywhere as Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces was beheaded in public. Grandfather, Yuan has avenged you. He has avenged you. Yuan's wailing exhausted all his strength. He was crying like a helpless child. The dust blade in his hand clanged as Lin Feng appeared behind Yuan and hugged him gently. It's over. Believe me, you will see your grandfather again one day. Chapter 29-27. All the venerables of the Limitless Biology Group were stunned. Yuan Venerate Limitless was also dumbfounded. What had happened? Not long ago, he had still been discussing the grand plan with Yuan Venerate Qi Urshin and Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces, imagining the bright future of the Limitless Biology Group. The Limitless Biology Group was jubilant, celebrating its ascension to the ranks of the Five Giants. Their opponent, the Seventh Mercenary Alliance, which was one of the top forces in the universe, had finally been defeated. Even the newcomers with potential had been completely dug out. In time, they would definitely be able to completely crush the Seventh Mercenary Alliance. However, in just a short while, Doomsday had arrived. It was like a nightmare that couldn't be woken up from. A giant bird had appeared out of nowhere, and the Huang Zun human Lin Feng, who had a bounty on his head by the Seventh Universe's divine adjudicator, had brought along a little fellow at the almighty level and turned his limitless biology domain upside down. Yuan Venerate Qi Urshin, who was stronger than him, had been instantly killed. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces, who was on par with him, had been executed. What was the outcome that awaited him? From today onward, the Limitless Biology Group will be officially removed from the universe. Lin Feng's voice rang out faintly without any emotion, as if he was just saying something insignificant. Those who want to leave can leave now. Very soon, the Limitless Biology domain will no longer exist. Don't blame me for being ruthless if you don't want to leave. Lin Feng didn't want to start a massacre. However, if necessary, he wouldn't be merciful. His war saber turned to dust, and Hongming airflow swirled. Lin Feng's figure flashed and appeared in front of Yuan Venerate Limitless in an instant. Yuan Venerate Limitless' expression changed drastically when he executed the Taekyongjian saber technique. The realm of the saber technique was too high. Pung! With just one move, Yuan Venerate Limitless was sent flying. His whole body glowed with golden light as he erected his strongest defense. Yuan Venerate Limitless couldn't imagine how a human like Huang Zun could be so strong. This was the origin universe. Wasn't there an upper limit to power? Let's end this. Lin Feng appeared in front of Yuan Venerate Limitless, and his perfect source heart force erupted instantly. A massive willpower impact accompanied the perfect source heart force. This was a power that didn't exist in the origin universe. Even with the same power limit, Lin Feng was still invincible. No! Yuan Venerate Limitless roared in horror. Along with his ambition, his roar vanished in the face of Lin Feng's extremely fast blade technique. The indestructible supreme chaos treasure was like a piece of tofu in front of war blade dust, unable to withstand a single blow. Pung! Yuan Venerate Limitless had fallen. Several Yuan Venerates who had just arrived were scared out of their wits when they witnessed this scene. They immediately fled without even seeing a shadow. What kind of joke was this? Even Yuan Venerate Limitless had been instantly killed, let alone them dead. 3 peak Yuan venerates have all fallen. How terrifying. This human is too terrifying. The Limitless Creatures group has perished. The fall of Yuan Venerate Limitless was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. All the Venerates scattered like birds and beasts. After losing 3 peak Yuan Venerates, the Limitless Creatures group would no longer be able to return to being one of the 5 powerhouses, even if they could regroup. Furthermore, if they didn't leave, they would end up exactly like Yuan Venerate Limitless. They would be killed by that terrifying human. Let's do it, second brother. Lin Feng and Yi Yuan returned to Shi Wan Li's back. Not all the Venerates had left. The Limitless Creatures group also had die-hard loyalists. Many powerhouses would rather die than submit and live and die with the Limitless Creatures group. Lin Feng also respected such powerhouses. However, their standpoints were different. Shi Wan Li spread his wings and soared. He displayed his majestic power and wantonly destroyed the domain of the Limitless Creatures group. This kind of thing couldn't be easier for him. After returning to Universe 7, he would enjoy all kinds of dragon race delicacies and would have to contribute. After returning, he would be able to claim credit and enjoy more dragon race delicacies, tornadoes, scattered clouds. It was a tragic sight. This was a disaster for the Limitless Creatures group. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 figures appeared in the domain of the Limitless Creatures group. They were extremely fast and anxious. Yuan Venerate Fugue and Yuan Venerate Yinwu, who were rushing over as fast as they could, had already informed the other Yuan Venerates. It was a scene of ruins. It was as if a natural disaster had descended. The Limitless Creatures group was completely destroyed. How intense, Yuan Venerate Yinwu said in a low voice. Hurry up and find Lin Feng. Yuan Venerate Fugue was even more worried. His junior brother might very well be caught in such an intense battle. The 2 powerhouses of the 7th Mercenary Alliance went straight into the Limitless Creatures group. The deeper they went, the more shocked they became. There were only ruins and not a single person in sight. The entire domain was like a battlefield. Was this still the Limitless Creatures group? The Limitless Creatures group, which was famous for its technology, had no high-tech buildings in the domain. It was so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. Where had all the cultivators gone? Even the declining 7th Mercenary Alliance wasn't as desolate as this. There are energy fluctuations ahead. Yuan Venerate Yinwu's eyes lit up. Let's go. In an instant, the 2 powerhouses appeared on the battlefield. The ground was filled with corpses and broken metal, as well as 3 very familiar corpses. Yuan Venerate Qi Urshin. Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces. This is Yuan Venerate Limitless? Yuan Venerate Fugue and Yuan Venerate Yinwu exchanged glances. They were shocked to see 3 peak Yuan Venerates fall. Furthermore, they were the 3 strongest leaders of the Limitless Creatures group. It was extremely difficult to kill a peak Yuan Venerate when the power of the Origin universe was limited. Even an Almighty would find it difficult to do so. However, the 3 peak Yuan Venerates had all fallen. Their auras had been completely annihilated. Could have been Lin Feng who killed them. Yuan Venerate Yinwu was a little stunned. Although he could vaguely sense that Lin Feng was very strong and might even be stronger than him, it was only a guess. Even if Lin Feng was stronger than him, he couldn't have been so strong that he could kill 3 peak Yuan Venerates. I don't know either. Yuan Venerate Fugue couldn't wrap his head around it. The Limitless Creatures group had been reduced to ruins. What did this mean? Their opponents were gone? Let's find Lin Feng first. Yuan Venerate Fugue came back to his senses. Now wasn't the time to think about the grudges between the 2 factions. He was very worried about his junior brother, Lin Feng. After all, he was wanted by the divine judgment and was in great danger. An Almighty could appear at any moment and kill him to obtain Homing's source item as a reward. All right, Yuan Venerate Yinwu also wanted to find Lin Feng as soon as possible and find out what had happened. Following the energy fluctuations, Yuan Venerate Fugue and Yuan Venerate Yinwu soon saw the giant bird in the sky. It was 1,000,000 miles long and covered the sky as it wreaked havoc in the Limitless Creatures group. What kind of monster was that? Oh no! Yuan Venerate Fugae was shocked when he saw a spatial crack appear and a terrifying aura descend. Almighty Jiang! Yuan Venerate Yinwu was also panicking. Chapter 29-28. Kiki. Wanton laughter reverberated through the void like an insolent demon. Almighty Jiang was one of the few lone almighties in Universe 7. Furthermore, he was one of the stronger ones. Upper-level almighties usually had stronger realms and were much stronger than other peak Yuan Venerates, even if their strength was limited when fighting in the Origin universe. Almighty Jiang just happened to be in the 7th God world. After receiving the news, he immediately rushed over. Universe 7's Godly Inquisitions, Godly Inquisitions, Godly Inquisitions, Godly Inquisitions, Godly Inquisitions, Godly Inquisitions, Godly Inquisition Order. That was a Hongmeng source item. Wandering in the Hongmeng Sea without a Hongmeng source item would be at a disadvantage. Killing a mere human like Huang Zun couldn't be any easier. However, in just an instant, whoosh, his soul was annihilated. Almighty being Ji Ang's arrogant laughter suddenly stopped. The demonic patterns on his green skin instantly dimmed, and his reddish-brown eyes lost all signs of life. He plummeted from the sky like a meteor crashing into the ground. 100,000 miles back, Lin Feng stood against the wind. A bright light flashed in his eyes. On his shoulder, Yuan raised his head, full of pride. Yuan Venerate Fu and Yuan Venerate Yinwu were stunned. What had happened? Almighty Jiang had died? If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe that the famous Almighty Jiang had died in a single exchange. His soul aura had been completely annihilated, and he hadn't been able to resist at all. It was too shocking. Lin Feng had killed him. Yuan Venerate Fu and Yuan Venerate Yinwu both knew that Lin Feng was most proficient in the spiritual sky path. However, they hadn't expected Lin Feng's spiritual sky path to be so strong that it could instantly kill an upper-level almighty. What did this mean? Lin Feng was already invincible in Universe 7. Nomological laws comprehension and perfect source power would be limited in Universe 7, but the soul wasn't. Lin Feng could easily kill Almighty Jiang, which meant that he could kill almost all the powerhouses in Universe 7, as long as Lin Feng had enough perfect soul origin energy. At that moment, Yuan Venerate Fufu and Yuan Venerate Yinwu were enlightened. Lin Feng wasn't impulsive or muddle-headed. He had dared to come to the infinite biological domain alone because he had absolute confidence. Lin Feng was not afraid of any cultivator. Wiping out the infinity biology group like this would certainly cause dissatisfaction among the other forces, but as long as one was strong enough, there was no need to care about what the other forces thought. There were thousands of paths in the universe, but there was only one thing that remained constant. The strong decided everything. Eldest senior brother, Senior Yinwu. With a smile, Lin Feng looked over. The infinity biology group has disappeared. Everything will be back on track. No one can stop the rise of the 7th Mercenary Alliance, including Universe 7's Inquisition and Will of the Heavenly Tao. The sky was overcast. The limitless biological domain was in ruins. After recovering from their shock, Yuan Venerate Fu and Yuan Venerate Yinwu also joined in the destruction. Since they had already done it, they might as well go all the way. Lin Feng was a member of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Back then, Yuan Venerate Fu had protected Lin Feng. Today, he was also on the same side. Regardless of whether Lin Feng was right or wrong, everyone was a family and would advance and retreat together. Haha, how refreshing. Fu, you don't know. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. Yuan Venerate Yinwu was like a god of war, wantonly destroying the limitless biological domain. Yuan Venerate Fu was in charge of internal affairs, while he was in charge of external affairs. He had suffered a lot during this period, especially when he had been defeated by Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces. Now, all of the depression and unhappiness had vanished in a thin air. Boom! Boom! Yuan Venerate Yinwu's tense face relaxed, and Yuan Venerate Fu, who was not far away, smiled knowingly. How could he not understand Yuan venerate Yinwu? He also felt the same way. The Limitless Biology Corporation, which had the support of Universe 7's Divine Judicatory, was targeting the 7th Mercenary Alliance at every turn. As the leader of the 7th Mercenary Alliance, he was under even more pressure than Yuan venerate Yinwu. Yi Dao and the others are here. Yuan venerate Fu glanced behind him. Yuan venerate Yi Dao, Yuan venerate Xiaoyan, and Yuan venerate Gord had all arrived. The three pairs of eyes were wide open, as they had no idea what had happened. They were even more confused than Yuan venerate Fu and Yuan venerate Yinwu. They had only rushed over as quickly as they could after receiving the news. Had the Infinity Biology Group been attacked by terrorists? Who had done it? Don't just stand there stupidly. Let's tear it down together. Tear his mother's house clean. Yuan venerate Yinwu shouted, his face brimming with joy and satisfaction. This was a refreshing way to vent his anger. The 7th Sacred Realm was shaken. What? The Infinity Biology Group is gone? What kind of joke is this? That's impossible. How could the Infinity Biology Group be destroyed all of a sudden? It was done by a giant bird and that human, Lin Feng. It said that there was also a divine master cultivator. Are you kidding? A divine master cultivator? The God-murdering tower, the 30,000 spatial boundaries, the Time Virtual Company, and the Universe Bank all received the news, including the other first-tier and second-tier forces. After all, the completely destroyed Infinity Biology domain was right there, and the members of the Infinity Biology Group were fleeing. The speed of the news was faster than the speed of light. The three leaders of the Infinity Biology Group, Yuan venerate Qi Ershin, Yuan venerate Limitless, and Yuan venerate Thousand Faces, had all been killed by the human, Lin Feng, who was wanted by the 7th Universe's Divine Tribunal. He had killed all three of them in a split second. His terrifying strength left everyone flabbergasted. The 5 big shots still didn't know that the vicious almighty Jiang had also died at the hands of Lin Feng. Even so, this was enough to make the other big shots tremble in fear. Although the Infinity Biology Group was one of the 5 big shots, in terms of strength, wasn't much weaker than the other 4 big shots, excluding Almighties. The other forces knew very well what it meant for them to be destroyed, just like that. Without the lips, the teeth would feel cold. Lin Feng belonged to the 7th Mercenary Alliance, and all the Yuan venerates of the 7th Mercenary Alliance had appeared in the Infinity Biology domain. This meant that this was a struggle between forces, and the 7th Mercenary Alliance would have the last laugh. Don't be in a hurry to declare your position. The 7th Universe's Divine Tribunal is behind the Infinity Biology Group. Now that Lin Feng has appeared, the 7th Universe's Divine Tribunal will definitely take action. Let's sit on top of the mountain and watch the tigers fight. The other 4 big shots weren't stupid. They had already formed a line and were waiting to watch. How could they not know about the inextricable relationship between the Infinity Biology Group and the 7th Universe's Divine Tribunal? There were no secrets in the universe, but this was an open conspiracy. Even if they knew about it, they couldn't stop it. Besides, this matter didn't concern them, so they couldn't do anything about it. The showdown between the 7th Mercenary Alliance and the Infinity Biology Group was just a warm-up. The real decisive battle was between the 7th Mercenary Alliance and the 7th Universe's Divine Tribunal after thousands of years. Soon, it would start again. Chapter 2929. The Heavenly Path Secret Realm was the oldest secret realm in the universe. The Inquisition of Universe 7 had existed since before the existence of Universe 7. It protected the rules of the universe, maintained the operation of the Heavenly Path, and stood proudly at the top of the universe. Now, the strongest force of Universe 7 was facing the most serious challenge. Over the endless eras, it was not that Universe 7's Holy Inquisition had not encountered any challenges. For example, the sensation caused by Netherback then was not enough to reach the apex. The most severe challenge had almost destroyed Universe 7's Holy Inquisition, just like how Lin Feng had destroyed the Limitless Biology Group today. At that time, the Taichu Inquisition made a move. But this time, because of the sensation caused by Lin Feng's challenge on the investiture of the gods, it caused a huge shock in the Taichu origin chaos universe. He left his name on the investiture of the gods, shocked the Hongming Sea, and became the hero of the Taichu. Various forces were attracting attention. The Taichu Inquisition couldn't risk universal condemnation to deal with Lin Feng. That would ruin its reputation. Do we still have hope? The wheel of time behind eternal God, eternity, rotated slowly as if his life was counting down. The scepter in his hand was no longer sharp, like the walking stick of an old man past his prime. Yes, eternal God, eternity, Hope's 8 pairs of white wings slowly opened. They were lustrous, and the 7 eyes on his forehead were brighter than the other. I reached a consensus with the will of the heavenly path. It's willing to help us. Oh, eternal God, eternity, Hope's eyes lit up. Eternal God, eternity, Hope said slowly. It's undeniable that Lin Feng already has the combat power of a pinnacle almighty. He's even very close to the limit of almighty. No cultivator in the original universe can deal with him, including almighties. Almighty Ji Ong overestimated himself. Eternal God, eternity, Hope knew that Ji Ong was dead. People die for wealth, and birds die for food. This has been the case since ancient times. Eternal God, eternity, Hope said, although Lin Feng is invincible in the original universe, he still has a fatal weakness. Lin Feng has a weakness? Eternal eternity, God frowned. According to what he knew, Lin Feng was proficient in the 3 aspects of the physical body, the origin soul, and mental cultivation. He had already reached the pinnacle of the path of Ming. In the future, when he became a powerful existence, it was very likely that he would possess the strongest Hongming primordial body. Although the path of Hongming was slightly weaker and wasn't proficient in the comprehension of laws, it wasn't a weakness, because you can't possibly use this so-called weakness against him. He's still Huang Zun, said the eternal God of Hope. Huang Zun's strength is terrifying. The eternal God didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It is precisely because he is Huang Zun that he was able to cause such a huge commotion in the Taichu and Hongmeng seas. But this is the primal universe. Hope's cosmic godlike wings unfurled. At this moment, he was like the embodiment of the heavenly Tao's will. Inner universe? The wheel of time behind eternal eternity, God paused for a moment. The eternal God of Hope nodded. No matter how strong Lin Feng is, his inner universe can't reach perfection. He still needs to resonate with the universe when he fights, so his power can't be unleashed from his inner universe. Having a stable and perfect inner universe and being able to erupt with the power of the universe were the hallmarks of an almighty. The inner universes of many peak Yuan venerates were close to perfection. Although they couldn't unleash the power of an almighty's inner universe, they were already self-sufficient and could erupt with powerful combat power, even without relying on their inner universe. Therefore, in Universe 7, it was tacitly agreed that only Yuan venerate powerhouses could roam the Hongmeng seas. However, Lin Feng was only Huang Zun. It was like a peerless sword that was still being forged. Although this sword would be invincible after the forging, it was still in its embryonic form. Lin Feng wasn't even a godly venerate. The growth rate of his inner universe was too low. If this was outside, the heavenly Taos could at most limit Lin Feng's strength. However, it's useless. Lin Feng's source C is too strong, said the eternal God of Hope. However, the heavenly Tao mystic realm is where the source of the heavenly Taos is located and where its power is the strongest. The universe is chaotic, and I guard the primal chaos sky palace. The source of the heavenly Taos is released and can be completely controlled. As long as Lin Feng is lured into the primal chaos sky palace, the heavenly Taos will block all power. Lin Feng's inner universe won't be able to communicate with the outside world. At that time, he will undoubtedly die. The eternal God smiled. I thought the heavenly Taos was really transcendent. Even wild beasts know how to seek fortune and avoid calamity, let alone the heavenly Tao's will. The eternal God of Hope looked into the depths of the sky. For you and me, isn't this also our last chance? The eternal God looked at the eternal God of hope. We have long lost our chance. The eternal God of hope smiled. However, this is our mission and the meaning of our existence. The Taichung God realm was in an uproar. Ever since the rise of the limitless biology group, the Seventh Mercenary Alliance had been suppressed and constrained everywhere. Many potential newcomers had been poached, and even some venerables had switched sides. Although many members and venerables hadn't left, they inevitably felt sullen and unhappy. They didn't understand why the Seventh Mercenary Alliance had to protect Lin Feng. Was it because he was the disciple of the Taichung Patriarch? Was it worth it to implicate the entire Seventh Mercenary Alliance for him? Now, there was finally an answer to this question. It was worth it. All the sullenness was released today. All the gloominess had vanished into thin air today. The limitless biology group was annihilated. Lin Feng had domineeringly wiped them out in one fell swoop. Not even dregs were left behind. Let those fools who defected to the limitless biology group regret it. Ha ha! I reckon their intestines are green with regret now. Let's see who dares to underestimate the Seventh Mercenary Alliance and the God-murdering tower in the future. 30,000 realms of space. Do they have the strength to suppress the limitless biology group and directly destroy it? We do. Ha 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 ha. Lin Feng is really strong. I heard that he single-handedly killed 3 peak Yuan venerates without even panting. F***CK. You are exaggerating. There are even more exaggerated things. I heard that a divine master participated in the battle and killed Yuan venerate 1,000 faces. Ah, a divine master cultivator can kill Yuan venerate 1,000 faces? I will take off my underwear and swallow it. The Taichung deity realm was filled with noise and laughter. It hadn't been so lively in a long time. All the members had been holding back their anger and were now releasing it to their heart's content. In the Taichung Hall, all the Yuan venerate powerhouses gathered and smiled happily. All this while they had been under the heaviest pressure. Lin Feng, you're really something. Yes, little chap. I have to look at him in a new light. Times have changed, yet you still call him little chap. Be careful not to get beaten up by Lin Feng. Even 10 of you wouldn't be enough to defeat him. Cut the crap. Lin Feng and I had a great time chatting in the limitless biology domain. Speaking of which, it's a pity that Taichung didn't get to see the scene in the limitless biology domain. Thud. Outside the hall, a barefoot figure in tattered clothes entered with a hearty laugh. Were you talking about me behind my back again? Mobile version update website. Chapter 29:30. His unkempt hair was mixed with mixed origin lightning, and his tattered armor looked extremely dirty. His bare feet were pitch black as he stepped into the hall. It was the destitute Yuan venerate who had returned from the Hongmeng Sea. Haha, destitute, you're finally back. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Destitute, come, let's get drunk today. Idao, Wan Min, and the other Yuan venerates were delighted to see the destitute Yuan venerate. They had been together for countless eras and were already like brothers. You're late, junior brother. The rich Yuan venerate also smiled. I rushed over as soon as I received the news. The relationship between the destitute Yuan venerate and the rich Yuan venerate had improved a lot after the battle in the Taichung venerate's sacred realm. Lin Feng is really something. Lin Feng? All the Yuan venerates roared with laughter. You won't be able to see him for the time being. Destitute. Yuan venerate Wan Min rubbed his bald head and chuckled. Lin Feng just went into seclusion. Seclusion? The destitute Yuan venerate's eyes widened. This kid poked a hole in the sky, yet he still has the mood to go into seclusion? The rich Yuan venerate smiled. Why can't he go into seclusion now that there's nothing going on? The threat of the limitless biology group is gone. The other 4 big shots are just watching from the sidelines. Who dares to speak up? Yuan venerate Xiaoyan scoffed. They're already scared. Lin Feng killed 3 peak Yuan venerates of the limitless biology group. Who would dare to speak up in front of everyone? Aren't they afraid of becoming the next limitless biology group? The destitute Yuan venerate sighed and couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. I couldn't believe it when I received the news. Junior brother is actually so strong now. Speaking of which, why is this kid going into seclusion for no reason? Yuan Venerate Yinwu handed over his wine glass and said, "It's time for him to break through." Lin Feng should have broken through long ago. He couldn't break through in the 100 million wheel origin realms because there was no nomological energy. He also couldn't break through when he challenged the dual polarity tower and the god list after returning to the barracks. In fact, Lin Feng's abilities had already met the requirements of a supreme venerate. There were two reasons why he didn't break through previously. Firstly, time was tight and he had things to do. Secondly, breaking through wasn't urgent. Now that he was a supreme venerate, he planned to enter the Taichu origin universe and explore the Hongmeng Sea. Entering the Hongmeng Sea, it would be easier to enter the Hongmeng Sea. In the chaotic universe of the absolute beginning origin, there were many secret domains where the communication between the internal universe and the outside world could be problematic. There were even some special areas that could seal the internal universe. No matter how sharp a saber was, if it was sealed by the sheath, it would be useless. After becoming an ultimate god, Lin Feng could eliminate his only weakness. Under normal circumstances, one's internal universe would only be considered stable after reaching the level of an almighty. However, many peak Yuan Venerate powerhouses had internal universes that were strong enough to support their bodies. The internal universes of absolute beginning cultivators were basically perfect when they stepped into the Yuan Venerate realm. Universe. B. Achieve. It wasn't difficult. To Lin Feng, this was something that would naturally happen when the conditions were right. My inner universe has evolved. With the abundant energy supply, Lin Feng's inner universe evolved much faster than usual. The universe evolved, the energy increased, and the heavenly Tao stabilized. Gradually, it formed a complete universe law. The chaos was gone, and the laws appeared clearly. All the energy fused together perfectly. With the black hole chaotic origin heart as the center, all the heavenly Tao in Lin Feng's inner universe was complete, including the heart force heavenly Tao. Now it was perfect. It could be said that Lin Feng's inner universe was stronger than Huang Quan's back then. Across the billions of races in the Hongmeng Sea, none of the godly venerates were stronger than Lin Feng's inner universe. Infinitely perfect. Even the heart cultivators from the Taichu origin chaos universe, who had cultivated all the heavenly Tao to perfection, could not compare with Lin Feng. That was because they lacked the most core, the cosmos life energy. It was hard to find a cosmos life energy in the vast Hongmeng Sea. It was even harder to possess it. Only the normal cosmos life system existed. There were also some unique life forms in the Hongmeng Sea that appeared occasionally. Only innate experts could possess a small cluster of them. The so-called cosmos life system referred to the Hongmeng Sea, the 5 great origin chaos universe, the child universes, and the black hole. Lin Feng sees the super Milky Way supermassive black hole. With the black hole chaotic origin heart as the core, the cosmos life energy would grow along with his strength. He could transform into a cosmos or seize a child universe with the same lineage. Of course, a cosmos that transformed by itself would not have the same life energy as a child universe that had existed for countless years. So this is a brand new inner universe. Although it was not worth mentioning compared to Universe 7, it was a stable and brand new internal universe. Although it was not worth mentioning, it was still a stable and brand new internal universe. The original inner universe still had a connection with the outside world. Only when it resonated with the outside world could it unleash its power. Now, the inner universe was one. It was the source of power. It was like a young eagle that had finally left its nest and was flying high. All the laws were clearly visible. All the energy had fused into one. The operation of the cosmos had energy that grew and multiplied endlessly. Very strong. Lin Feng had previously fought in the secret realm. It was almost always his inner universe that was on the losing end. Now, his inner universe was much stronger than the peak Yuan venerates from the Taichu origin chaos universe. It was comparable to a great existence. Zheng, the battle saber, turned to dust appeared in his hand. Perfect origin heart force and perfect origin force fused together. This was the power of Lin Feng's inner universe. All kinds of energy had fused into one. Not only was the movement of energy faster, but it was also more refined and powerful. The power I can unleash at the same time is several times stronger than before, and there's a lot of room for improvement. The new inner universe was like a young man that had just transformed. It had unlimited room for growth and a promising future. Perfection was just a state. It wasn't a destination. Strengthening the inner universe required stronger nomological law comprehension and sky great path attainment. Secondly, it required a huge amount of energy. Of course, Lin Feng's inner universe was already self-sufficient. It only needed time to grow. My growth is too slow. I'll use Hongmeng source crystals to strengthen it directly. Lin Feng's current inner universe was equivalent to an almighty's. A perfect inner universe could be strengthened by using Hongmeng source crystals, which are the purest Hongmeng energy. Lin Feng, who had reaped a great harvest in the secret realm, naturally didn't lack Hongmeng source crystals. He could make a considerable profit by selling any Hongmeng source item. Although Sherwan, Li was the one who had obtained the inheritance of the 100 million wheels master, Lin Feng wouldn't be courteous. Treasures were only treasures when they were used. Making the best use of everything and maximizing one's strength would allow one to reap more rewards. Lin Feng had always understood this principle. I'm not in a hurry to deal with Universe 7's divine tribunal. I'll consolidate my ultimate venerate realm first. Lin Feng continued his seclusion. Chapter 29:31. After becoming an ultimate god, Lin Feng's cultivation realm improved steadily. Everything he had accumulated at Huang Zun's level could be used, especially the many treasures he had obtained in the secret realm. They directly strengthened his body, soul, and sea of origin, helping Lin Feng save a lot of effort. These were the possessions of the master of 100 million wheels. The treasures of the universe's ruler were enough for a little ultimate god to use. However, the strength of the new internal universe was limited. Even if Lin Feng had more treasures, he could only improve gradually. The universe was like a container. The container could only hold as much as it could. The limit of the original universe's power was like this. The original universe itself could only hold so much strength, so the power could not exceed it. It was the same for the internal universe. Lin Feng strengthened his internal universe while strengthening his body and soul. These were all direct improvements. The comprehension of the laws and the heavenly Tao required a long time. The Tai Chiong God realm returned to peace. However, the shock left in the seventh God realm would not disappear even after thousands of eras. Lin Feng's feat of flattening the infinite biological realm with his own strength had become a legend in the seventh universe. The seventh mercenary alliance, which was originally going downhill, gradually recovered. The birth of a new hero could cause great resonance and followers. A large number of potential newcomers joined, including many independent venerables and experts like Huang Zun, causing the seventh mercenary alliance to be in the limelight for a while. In the past 10 eras, the number of potential newcomers who joined the seventh mercenary alliance was twice as much as the other four giants combined. One could imagine how big of a sensation Lin Feng had caused. Unfortunately, the original universe was just a well. Most cultivators did not know about the existence of the Hongmeng Sea, let alone the deep footprints Lin Feng left on the investiture of the gods. That would truly be a great shock. This was also the reason why the Taichu superpowers were willing to pay any price to recruit Lin Feng. Lin Feng was the Taichu's new hero. The record he had left behind on the investiture of the gods was eternal. No matter which superpower he joined, he would bring light to their humble dwelling and become their golden signboard. It's already been 15 eras, yet Junior Brother still hasn't come out of seclusion. The impoverished Yuan Venerate leaned against a pillar in boredom. The longer it takes, the greater Junior Brothers gains. Yuan Venerate Fugue was busy dealing with the affairs of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. He had been very busy in the past 15 years. The 7th Mercenary Alliance was now 10 times more prosperous than when it had first become one of the 5 big shots. This brat, why did he have to go into seclusion when his second senior brother came? He's really asking for a beating. The destitute Yuan Venerate grumbled. Yuan Venerate Fugue chuckled. You can't even beat Junior Brother's mount. The destitute Yuan Venerate's mouth twitched as he snorted. You speak as if you can beat him. Yuan Venerate Fugue said, Shi Wan Li is from the Garuda bird race of the Hongmeng Sea. He is extremely talented, and even 14 of us combined are no match for him. Only when we step out of Universe 7 will we realize how insignificant we are. Yuan Venerate Fugue lifted his head and sighed. It was indeed a wise decision to stay in the Origin universe back then. The destitute Yuan Venerate Fugue said, The Hongmeng Sea is the realm of the strong. If teacher knew that you were so stubborn and did not seek to improve yourself, he would jump out of Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain in anger. Speaking of which, how long has teacher been in Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain? Yuan Venerate Fugue asked in surprise. 17,800 eras, the destitute Yuan Venerate replied. Has it been that long? Yuan Venerate Fugue sighed. If I hadn't been able to contact teacher, I would have thought that something had happened to him. The destitute Yuan Venerate Fugue said, What could have happened to him? Teacher is a peak almighty. He wouldn't be afraid even if he encountered a Taichu almighty. I believe that teacher must have had a great opportunity in Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain, just like Junior Brother. I hope so. Yuan Venerate Fugue nodded. What happened to teacher? Yuan Venerate Fugue and the destitute Yuan Venerate Fugue were startled by the sudden appearance of the figure. It was as though the familiar figure before them had turned into another person. Congratulations, Junior Brother. Yuan Venerate Fugue smiled. Junior Brother, you are one step ahead of us. The destitute Yuan Venerate Fugue praised after recovering from a shock. Given their knowledge, they could naturally see the changes in Lin Feng. His internal universe had become a whole and was clearly separated from the external universe. Although Lin Feng had just become a godly venerate, his internal universe had already reached the standard of an almighty. Yuan Venerate Fugue and the destitute Yuan Venerate Fugue were both peak Yuan Venerates, and their internal universes were close to perfection. However, they had not taken the crucial step. In this aspect, Lin Feng had caught up from behind and surpassed his 2 senior brothers. I believe that both of you will be able to break through very soon. Lin Feng modestly declined and then asked curiously, Senior brothers, you mentioned that teacher is in Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain. What happened? His teacher, the destitute patriarch, had not shown up all this time, including when he had entered the Hongmeng Ocean. Lin Feng was also worried about him. Given his teacher's temperament, he would have come out to see him if there was nothing. You have to ask Junior Brother. He has always been wandering the Hongmeng Ocean, so he knows best, Yuan Venerate Fugue said. Yuan Venerate Fugue frowned. Teacher has never mentioned it to me. I only know that teacher has been in Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain for 17,800 years. I don't know anything else. Junior Brother, have you ever entered Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain? Yuan Venerate Fugue asked. Yuan Venerate Fugue rolled his eyes. Given my strength, I am not even the strongest among the Yuan Venerates of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Wouldn't I be courting death if I entered Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain? Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain was more famous than the Million Luan Origin Realm. It was one of the top 10 most dangerous regions in the Taichu Empire. Even Yuan Venerate powerhouses could enter the Million Luan Origin Realm. Entering Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain without the strength of an almighty was equivalent to courting death. The unique geographical environment of Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain alone could cut off the resonance of the universe, which was enough to kill a Yuan Venerate powerhouse. When the time comes, I will go in and check it out. Lin Feng nodded gently. He also wanted to know what was going on with his teacher. Did he have a fortuitous encounter, or was he trapped in Homing's Chinjua Mountain? Junior brother, you can enter Homing's Chinjua Mountain? Yuan Venerate Fugue laughed bitterly as soon as he spoke. Wasn't he just spouting nonsense? Lin Feng was no longer the junior brother who needed his protection in the past. His junior brother had been able to destroy the limitless biological corporation and kill 3 peak Yuan Venerates on his own. His junior brother's strength had already reached the level of an almighty. Needless to say, he had already become a godly venerate. Second senior brother, Lin Feng suddenly said. Yuan Venerate Fugue replied. Do you still remember our agreement back then? Lin Feng's smile had a faint fighting spirit. Yuan Venerate Fugue narrowed his eyes and murderous intent surged. When I become an almighty, I will definitely turn Universe 7's divine tribunal upside down. Lin Feng stopped smiling. Now is the time. Chapter 29:32. Skypath Mystic Realm, Chaos Sky Palace. Guarding the most primordial chaos, wisps of Hongmeng airflow covered the place. There were fragmented ripples and cracks in space. Time sometimes slowed down, sometimes sped up, and nomological energy was chaotic. This place still maintained the appearance of a universe when it first opened. This was because of the existence of the heavenly path will. It was formless and shadowless, yet it was everywhere. The heavenly path will was born in the chaos and grew in the chaos. The battle outside has begun. The wheel of time behind eternal Ian God eternal rolled, and the scepter in his hand shook slightly. There was an imperceptible sadness in his eyes. Those who achieve great things don't bother with trifles. Eternal Ian God, Eternal Ian spread his 8 pairs of white wings, and his 7 eyes shone brilliantly. Their sacrifice will not be in vain. I hope so. Eternal Ian God, Eternal Ian said, if Lin Feng doesn't enter Chaos Sky Palace in the end, everything we have done will be in vain. He will come. He will definitely come. Eternal Ian God's voice reverberated in the chaos, calm and steady. Again. Ha, take my blade. Dao Pu, your blade technique has improved again. That goes without saying. Dao Pu has seen that I have achieved great success and have 1% of teacher standard. Ha. Blade light, sword shadows, and fist power overflowed. A group of Yuan Venerates led by Dao Pu charged into the Skypath Mystic Realm, the oldest and most mysterious mystic realm of Universe 7. Yuan Venerate Yunmen, Yuan Venerate Yidao, Yuan Venerate Gord, Yuan Venerate Xiaoyan, Yuan Venerate Great Saber, Yuan Venerate Luo Shun, and the 14th Yuan Venerate of the 7th Mercenary Alliance had arrived. The remaining ones had either retired, like Yuan Venerate Tianhuang and City Lord Qianzun, needed to guard the deity realm of Taiqiong, like Yuan Venerate Fufu and Yuan Venerate Yinwu, or were tempering themselves in the Hongmeng Sea, like Yuan Venerate Yinxiang. But even if only half of them had come, the lineup was already strong enough, especially with the existence of 2 monsters. Chi. Everywhere it passed, it left behind ruins and ruins. The black and white wings flashed with cold light, instantly killing all the Ian gods, divine adjudicators, and executors. No one could withstand a single blow from its claws. Their killing efficiency was even higher than that of the 7 Yuan Venerates combined. Lin Feng didn't make a move. He just stood quietly on Shi Wan Li's back with the Yuan, like a marshal leading an army. Although they couldn't sense any aura or killing intent from him, no one would underestimate Lin Feng. All the Yuan Venerates knew how terrifying Lin Feng's Source C was. He had insta-killed the 3 heads of the Infinity Biology Group. However, Venerable One Thought's attack style wasn't suited for group battles. Thus, Lin Feng had held back his strength in order to deal with the 3 strongest cosmos gods. Naturally, the 7 Yuan Venerates and Shi Wan Li would deal with these miscellaneous troops. Given the strength of a Yuan Venerate, it was easy for them to deal with these cultivators who weren't even eternal gods. Although there were only 7 Yuan Venerates, They were better than an army of thousands. Awesome. I finally got my revenge for what happened to Tai Cheong-zun in the God Realm. I've endured it for a long time. Damn it. Yuan venerates Great Saber and Gord were young and aggressive, so they were the most aggressive. Yuan venerate Luo Shun and Yuan venerate Lao Pu had intentionally held back their strength in case of an emergency. Among the 7 Yuan venerates, Yuan venerate Lao Pu was the strongest. After being tempered in the Hongmeng Sea and receiving the inheritance of Patriarch Tai Cheong, Yuan venerate Lao Pu indeed had the strength of an almighty. The promise he had made that day had been fulfilled. An eye for an eye, an eye for an eye. Yuan venerate Lao Pu was never a person who would swallow his pride. Extremely vicious, Yuan venerate Lao Pu's saber techniques were overbearing and full of explosive power. Tai Cheong's 7th move had already reached the great accomplishment stage and was his strongest killing move. His intent level had also reached the great accomplishment stage. Patriarch Tai Cheong had said that Yuan venerate Lao Pu's saber techniques were not bad. Three-eyed, Yuan venerate Lao Pu saw the three-eyed eternal god standing outside the hall. He had already replaced eternal god Xingjin and become one of the 3 new cosmos gods. His strength was well-deserved. Before he could make a move, a figure was already in front of him, wielding a saber with one hand. That figure rushed toward the three-eyed eternal god. His saber techniques left Yuan venerate Lao Pu flabbergasted. Tai Cheong's saber techniques were exactly the same as his. No, stronger than his. Great perfection. Yuan venerate Lao Pu muttered to himself in shock. He had never been able to reach the great perfection realm, but now he saw it on his junior brother. As he watched his junior brother's back, he felt as if Patriarch Tai Cheong had reappeared. Tai Cheong, wow, Lin Feng is amazing. Yuan venerate Lao Pu's bald head was shining. Hey, Lao Pu, Lin Feng's saber techniques are even stronger than yours. Yuan venerate Luo Shun laughed. Yuan venerate Lao Pu was still bragging about the improvement of his saber techniques. You must be dumbfounded now. Yuan venerate Yi Dao stepped on the ancient chessboard as black and white chess pieces revolved around him. The student has surpassed the master. I didn't expect Lin Feng to not only have shocking attainments in the soul, but his saber techniques are also impeccable. The three-eyed eternal god couldn't even fight back. Uncle Master's saber techniques are really awesome. Yuan venerate Great Saber's eyes widened and his breathing quickened. Amazing, too amazing. Master saber techniques are far inferior to Uncle Master's. Whoosh! Yuan venerate Lao Pu's face turned green as he glared fiercely at his disciple. Yuan venerate Great Saber had a simple, honest, and slow-witted personality. He spoke whatever was on his mind and didn't understand the ways of the world. All the Yuan venerates laughed heartily. Yuan venerate Lao Pu also laughed it off. What was there to be embarrassed about being surpassed by his own junior brother? He should be proud. Today, we will raise Universe 7's divine tribunal to the ground. Yuan venerate Lao Pu's fighting spirit was bursting as the saber in his hand trembled. Lin Feng's tyrannical fighting strength made him feel even more confident. He wouldn't go home without victory. Great! All the Yuan venerates were in high spirits. They were unstoppable. Although there were many powerhouses in Universe 7's divine tribunal, they simply weren't a match for the 7 fierce Yuan venerates. Furthermore, Sherwan Li and Lin Feng were holding the line. Soon, the divine tribunal was swept clean. Even the strongest three-eyed eternal god was slain by Lin Feng's saber and slumbered for eternity. Further in was the heavenly Tao Samsara, where the eternal eternity god resided, the heavenly Tao Samsara. The Yuan venerates didn't wait to rest. Instead, they took advantage of the situation and charged in. Many powerhouses of Sky Path Samsara had already come out to support the divine tribunal, but they had all fallen. Wiping out Sky Path Samsara was easier than expected, and they hadn't seen the existence of Eternal God, Eternal God. 2 of the 3 major divisions had already been wiped out. Even if this battle ended, Universe 7's divine tribunal would suffer great losses and would need a long time to recover. The deepest part was the universe chaos, which was also where Eternal God, the head of the three major divisions of Universe 7's divine tribunal, was located. It was a forbidden area that no cultivator had ever set foot in since the establishment of Universe 7. The 7 Yuan venerates all looked at Lin Feng and waited for his decision. We have to remove the roots. Let's go. Lin Feng's decision was as calm as his voice. He took the lead and entered without hesitation. Chapter 29:33. He's really here. He'll definitely come. The Hope Eternal God and the Eternal God, waited quietly in the Primal Chaos Sky Palace. As the passageway to the Primal Chaos Sky Palace lit up, a Garuda bird that was 1,000,000 miles long arrived. Lin Feng also appeared in the sights of the two master Eternal Gods. Shi Wanli was very strong. The Hope Eternal God and the Eternal God, knew that they might not be able to kill Lin Feng even if they restrained him. After all, the Garuda bird was still around. Lin Feng wasn't the only one killing everyone outside the 100 million wheel origin realms. The Garuda bird was also there. However, this was their only hope and also their mission. Even if they had to die, they had to kill Lin Feng. The Hope Eternal God and the Eternal God, knew that even if they were still alive after killing Lin Feng, they would definitely become sacrificial lambs and be executed by the Taichu Inquisition as scapegoats. However, they no longer had the chance or the choice. This was fate, and it wasn't up to them to choose. Lin Feng, I want to have a fair fight with you. The Eternal God, stepped forward as the wheel of time behind him rolled like a bell. Back in the secret realm, we missed the opportunity to fight. Today, I hope we can get what we want. Be careful of any schemes. Yuan Venerate Luo, Shun reminded him. Don't talk nonsense with them. Let's just do it. The poor Yuan Venerate was full of fighting spirit. Yeah, Lin Feng, let's kill our way over. Yuan Venerate Ghost Gate's bald head bobbed. Are you afraid, Lin Feng? The Hope Eternal God spread his 8 pairs of white wings and hovered in the air as he looked at Lin Feng. As long as you can kill the Eternal God, I will self-destruct my internal universe and follow him. The current Eternal God, was stronger than the Hope Eternal God. Although the Eternal God, had fallen during the trip to the secret realm, his strength had increased steadily. He had already surpassed peak Yuan Venerates and even ordinary Almighties. I agree. Lin Feng jumped off Shi Wanli's back without any fear. He stepped into the Primal Chaos Sky Palace alone. The 7 Yuan Venerates behind him looked worried. Only Shi Wanli and Yi Yuan were confident in Lin Feng and weren't worried. How strong was Lin Feng now? 100,000 Li knew that even if he had the legacy of the Lord of 100 million wheels, he might not be able to defeat the current Lin Feng. After becoming an ultimate god, Lin Feng's progress was terrifying. The greater one's strength, the greater one's confidence. Primal Chaos Sky. Lin Feng's gaze swept across the signboard that was shrouded in primal chaos energy. He stepped into this region filled with primal chaos energy. His inner universe stirred, and his black hole chaotic origin heart resonated continuously. He also wanted to see what the eternal Ian God could do. Here, he could vaguely sense the existence of the universe's life force. Chaotic laws, rich energy, and mysterious enchantment runes. At this time, the runes on the pillars began to shine with a golden light. As Lin Feng stepped in, the 7 eyes of the eternal god of hope that hovered above the palace shined brightly. Majestic power was released and spread throughout the entire heavenly palace. In an instant, all the inscriptions lit up like blazing flames. The inscriptions condensed the aura of Hongmeng and intersected with the chaotic airflow, causing the entire heavenly palace to transform. 8 pairs of white wings wrapped around Primal Chaos Divine Palace. They hoped that the strength within the Ian God's body would erupt like a burning star. Their eyes shined like fireworks. A clear and transparent ball appeared in the center of the palace, beating like a heart. Every beat had a clear rhythm to it. Every beat carried with it a transmission of energy that formed a close connection with the golden runes. At this moment, a massive change occurred in Chaos Divine Palace. Oh! Lin Feng looked at that clear ball before looking at the motionless Ian, God, eternal God. He could feel the surrounding energy disappear. It was as if the universe space had suddenly evaporated, forming a vacuum zone. In just an instant, he could no longer feel the existence of a universe energy. He couldn't even feel that he was in the universe. Outside, there is indeed a conspiracy. Yuan Venerate Ghostgate was furious. Should we barge in directly? Yuan Venerate Luo Shen asked. The impoverished Yuan Venerate frowned as he looked at the chaotic primal chaos divine palace. He could barely see Lin Feng's figure. He was about to give the order to barge in when he was blocked by a pair of huge black and white wings. You won't be of much help even if you enter. Big Brother can handle it. Shi Wanli was confident in Lin Feng. Although he didn't know what was happening inside, he didn't think that this kind of trap would affect his big brother Lin Feng. He had barged through dangerous places before, let alone this small obstacle. There's no need to think about it. They won't be able to enter. Ian God, eternal God, looked at Lin Feng without any vitality in his eyes. Hope has burned his inheritance bead and turned his body into a wall of life to protect the primal chaos divine palace. Even if that Garuda bird attacks with all its strength, it will take some time to break through. And this time is enough for me to kill you 100 times. Ian God, eternal God's expression was very calm. Even though Ian God, eternal God, had sacrificed himself, Ian God, eternal God knew that no matter what the final outcome was, he would definitely follow in Hope's footsteps. But Ian God, eternal God, didn't regret it. Even if he had to do it all over again, he would still do it. Because this was his mission, his fate and Hope's fate. Kill me? How will you kill me? Lin Feng smiled faintly as he looked at Ian God, eternal God. At this time, the aura he'd been hiding slowly spread out. It didn't change at all because he was trapped. A huge internal universe covered the entire primal chaos divine palace, reflecting Ian God, eternal God's shocked face as he looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. A perfect internal universe. Lin Feng had reached the level of an ultimate god. Not an ordinary ultimate god, but a primordial chaos ultimate god. Whoosh. Closing his eyes, it was as if the door of hope had closed. The eternal God of eternity clearly knew that all of the meticulous planning that he and the eternal God of eternity had put in place had gone up in smoke at this moment. The current Lin Feng was just like the universe within his body, majestic, stable, and flawless. There were no more weaknesses. Clang! The wheel of time behind him blossomed with boundless light as eternal eternity God bellowed. The aura of a peak Yuan Venerate was fully displayed. The inheritance bead in his body shone brightly, just like eternal eternity God Hope. He had exploded. Even if the eternal Ian God knew that even if he were 10 times stronger, he still wouldn't be able to kill Lin Feng, he would still do so. A true powerhouse would never retreat. He hoped so, and would always be so. Goodbye. The eternal Ian God gripped his scepter with both hands. He was like a burning star, divine and indestructible. His life could end, his strength could burn, but his faith would never be extinguished. He would forever be the great Ian God, the master universe God who would forever guard Universe 7's godly inquisition. Boom. Chapter 29:34. Outside the primal chaos sky palace, the 7 Yuan Venerates waited anxiously. Shi Wanli took out a huge braised dragon leg from his storage ring and munched on it from time to time. The Yuan Venerates were helpless. This mount was really ambitious. He was still thinking about eating at a time like this. Brother Yuan, do you think we should kill our way in together? Yuan Venerate Yun Min approached Shi Wanli. His bald head was particularly bright as his eyes were unconsciously attracted to the braised dragon leg. Whoosh! 100,000 miles turned his body and put the braised dragon leg into his mouth. He mumbled, "No need, no need." But Yuan Venerate Yun Min was in a difficult position. He wasn't the only one. Yuan Venerate Luo Shun and Yuan Venerate Yun Min were also anxious. It was obvious that this was a trap set up by Eternal Eternity God. He had even sacrificed Eternal Eternity God Hope in order to kill Lin Feng. They all knew very well that the target of Universe 7's Divine Tribunal was only Lin Feng. However, they were weak and couldn't help Lin Feng. Shi Wanli, on the other hand, had the ability to turn the tide and unravel the conspiracy of Universe 7's Divine Tribunal. Primal Chaos Chi covered the Primal Chaos Sky Palace. Nothing could be seen or felt inside. The entire Primal Chaos Sky Palace seemed to have disappeared into the Primal Chaos. It was clearly right in front of them, but it seemed like a dream that vanished in an instant. Ha! Whoosh! The Primal Chaos Chi dispersed, and a clear voice entered the ears of the 7 Yuan Venerates. They were extremely nervous and uneasy. However, the anxiety of the 7 Yuan Venerates disappeared, and they smiled when they saw the familiar figure. Lin Feng had come out. "Are you all right, junior brother?" Yuan Venerate Yunmin was the first to step forward and ask. "I knew there was definitely a problem." Yuan Venerate Luo Shun said earnestly, "Lin Feng, you took too many risks. What would have happened if Universe 7's Divine Tribunal had succeeded? You are now the soul of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Where is that bastard Eternal Eternity?" Yuan Venerate Yunmin stuck his head out and peered at the Primal Chaos Sky Palace. "He's dead," Lin Feng replied. The Yuan Venerates weren't surprised. They just sneered. He was an enemy, not a friend, but using such dirty means was even more despicable. It's over. As an opponent, Lin Feng would always respect the great Ian God. However, their standpoints were different, and they would have to fight to the death in the end. He simply has too many missions on his shoulders. To him, death is a form of release. Shi Wanli puffed up his mouth that was stuffed with dragon legs and said, "Big brother, should we destroy this place?" "No need." Lin Feng swept his gaze across the secret realm that still retained the appearance of the beginning of chaos. His eyes were bright. This is probably the best cultivation place in the entire universe, especially for ordinary venerables. Universe 7's Godly Inquisition has been destroyed. We can occupy this place and use it as a training ground. What? Devouring the 7th Universe's Godly Inquisition and occupying the Heavenly Path secret realm? The eyes of the 7 Yuan Venerates widened. They were all shocked by Lin Feng's words. This was something that he didn't even dare to think about in the past. But now, it seemed that he could really do it. Will the other forces have any objections? Yuan Venerate Luo Shun asked hesitantly. What objections can they have? Lin Feng smiled and exuded a faint murderous aura. Whoever disagrees will be destroyed. Lin Feng stepped onto Shi Wanli's back and disappeared from the sight of the Yuan Venerates. However, those calm and domineering words were deeply imprinted in their minds and were difficult to erase. Yes, what objections could they have? The Limitless Biology Group had been destroyed. Universe 7's Godly Inquisition had also been destroyed. Would the Murdering God Tower or the 30,000 spatial boundaries have any objections? So what if the 4 big shots joined forces? They would all be destroyed. With absolute strength, there was nothing to fear. Well said. The impoverished Yuan Venerate roared. His eyes were bright, and he was in high spirits. From today onwards, the rankings of all the forces in Universe 7 are history. We don't care about the 5 big shots. If we want to do it, we have to be number 1. We have to be the strongest. The 7th Mercenary Alliance is the strongest super big shot in Universe 7. Well said. Super big shot. Haha, we are super big shots. If anyone dares to disagree, we'll destroy them. The 7 Yuan Venerates laughed heartily. They were infected with Lin Feng's domineering aura. Stepping on the land that used to be the strongest force in the universe, they were no longer restrained. Even the Godly Inquisition of Universe 7 had been destroyed. What was there to be afraid of? They would destroy whoever came. The current 7th Mercenary Alliance was invincible. There was a huge shock in Universe 7. The first to bear the brunt were the 4 big shots. The Murdering God Tower, the 30,000 spatial boundaries, the Universe Bank, and the Time Virtual Company. The destruction of the godly Inquisition of Universe 7 had shocked them too much. Even the will of the Heavenly Path could no longer stop Lin Feng. In this game between heaven and man, the final winner was man. The wealthy Yuan Venerate was still hesitating, but Yuan Venerate Yinwu didn't care so much. He led the 7th Mercenary Alliance with the impoverished Yuan Venerate and took root in the Heavenly Path Mystic Realm to establish a new Taichung God Realm. The original Taichung God Realm had thin cosmic energy and was isolated by the will of the Heavenly Path. Furthermore, the current 7th Mercenary Alliance was a super big shot and should be different from the other big shots. The Heavenly Path Mystic Realm was the most suitable place to set up a new base. This was the resting place of the will of the Heaven Tao, so it was naturally impossible for it to make a mess of its own residence. Moreover, the current will of the Heaven Tao was like an emperor without an army, and it was unable to do anything. Resist? It was completely futile. Without the godly Inquisition of Universe 7, the will of the Heavenly Path was alone. The other 4 big shots have already formed a line and are secretly making preparations. If this continues, it seems to be somewhat disadvantageous for us. The wealthy Yuan Venerate was calm and conservative. No, Fuzi, there's no need to worry about the other 4 big shots. With Lin Feng around, they won't dare play any tricks, Yuan Venerate Yinwu said. The wealthy Yuan Venerate sighed. But Junior Brother will have to leave eventually. He can't stay in the Origin universe forever. When the time comes, the 4 big shots will make things difficult for him, and the situation will be very bad. Yuan Venerate Yinwu didn't say anything. He knew that this was a difficult problem in front of them. The 7th Mercenary Alliance could take over the entire Universe 7 without any forces daring to provoke it, because Lin Feng was overseeing it. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Lin Feng's strength had completely intimidated the entire universe. However, what would happen if Lin Feng left? The other big shots might still be afraid of him for an epoch or 10 epochs. However, if Lin Feng didn't return often after a long time, the situation would change subtly. Could the 7th Mercenary Alliance really establish its prestige and strength in such a short time? Senior Brother, don't worry. I will arrange everything before I leave. Lin Feng appeared with a smile and looked at the wealthy Yuan Venerate before turning back to Yuan Venerate Yinwu. Senior Yinwu, don't worry. There won't be any problems. It just so happens that I also have some matters to discuss with the 4 big shots. Chapter 29:35. He wanted to take back something that belonged to him. Lin Feng had already fused with the core of the Qin Emperor's origin bead. The other 2 parts were the Qin Emperor's origin crystal and the Qin Emperor's origin bead. The remaining 2 parts were in the 30,000 realms of space and the Murdering God Tower. This was because Heavenly Emperor Aokong, the founder of the 30,000 realms of space, and Ancestor Qing, the founder of the Murdering God Tower, had been the one who had besieged Yellow Spring. Lin Feng didn't really need the 5 parts of the Qin Emperor's origin core. After all, he now had many Hongmeng source items, including a Hongmeng source item like the 100 million wheels 8 front array. However, this was something left behind by Senior Yellow Spring, so Lin Feng didn't want to lose it. Furthermore, he wanted to visit the 4 big shots one by one, just as eldest Senior Brother Yuan Venerate Fugue had been worried about. Lin Feng knew very well that the other 4 big shots wouldn't dare make a move now that he was in the original universe. It would be fine for a short period of time if he left, but the other 4 big shots wouldn't be willing to give up after a long time. After all, the strength of each big shot wasn't inferior to the 7th Mercenary Alliance. They might even be stronger. The only thing they weren't comparable to was the top powerhouses who could dominate the original universe with absolute strength. The most direct method was to go on a killing spree and pull out the 4 big shots one by one. However, this method was too bloody and had too many negative effects. They had exterminated the limitless biology group and flattened the 7th Mercenary Alliance because they were enemies of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. However, they didn't have much enmity with the other 4 big shots. The competition between the powers wasn't about wiping out the entire sect. Besides making more enemies, there was no benefit in doing so. If the 4 big shots fell, another 4 big shots would rise. As long as the universe existed, the competition between the powers would multiply endlessly. If you want others to be afraid of you, the only way is to become strong yourself. Far stronger than your opponent. When you're strong, everything around you will treat you kindly and amiably. Boom! The symbolic building of Murdering God Tower shattered with a loud bang. The 2 reverends with surging killing intent fell directly. Lin Feng stood 100,000 miles back like an emperor descending into the world. His domineering aura overflowed the sky. I'll say it again. Ask Yuan Venerate Devouring King to come out. Lin Feng's voice reverberated throughout the Murdering God Tower's territory. Even the Divine Master Cultivators could hear it clearly. Just like Yuan Venerate Fu, Yuan Venerate Shi Wang was a peak Yuan Venerate in charge of the Murdering God Tower. What wind blew you here, Brother Lin? Yuan Venerate Shi Wang appeared with an awkward smile on his face. Behind him were 2 Yuan Venerates. Everyone from the Murdering God Tower was surging with murderous intent as they glared at Lin Feng. It was as though they would attack at any moment. Roar! Sherwan Li's roar startled the 2 Yuan Venerates. His roar, which carried a willpower impact, went straight to the depths of their souls and made the 2 peak Yuan Venerates break out in cold sweat. I'm here to take back something that belongs to me, Lin Feng said indifferently. Oh, what is it? Yuan Venerate Devour King became vigilant, as he was deeply afraid of Lin Feng. This young human had destroyed the limitless biological group and Universe 7's divine tribunal in the blink of an eye. Who knew if he would destroy the God-murdering tower next? After all, Lin Feng had already made a move and even killed 2 of the ultimate venerates of the Murdering God Tower. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang was clearly provoking them. Yet the Murdering God Tower didn't have the confidence to resist. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang was helpless. If it didn't appear, Lin Feng would probably tear down the entire Murdering God Tower. Although they had lost some face, at least there was room for reconciliation. Qin Emperor's soul talisman, Lin Feng said. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang pondered for a moment before saying, I don't think I've heard of it before. Wei Xiao, do you know if there is such a treasure in the treasury? I don't know, Yuan Venerate Wei Xiao said coldly. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang glanced at Lin Feng and smiled apologetically. I'm sorry, Brother Lin, but we don't seem to have such a treasure. Why don't you wait for a while, and I'll send someone to check the treasury. If we find it, we'll hand it over immediately. The Qin Emperor's Soul Scroll is a treasure of Yellow Springs. If you don't know, you might as well ask the Green Ancestor. I believe you will know. Lin Feng ignored Yuan Venerate Shi Wang. The Heavenly Emperor is not someone you can address. Boom! Yuan Venerate Wei Xiao, who was standing behind Yuan Venerate Devouring King, was sent flying by Wanli's slap before he could even finish speaking. Yuan Venerate Devouring King's face turned green when he saw Yuan Venerate Wei Xiao being disrespected in front of so many venerates in the territory of the Murdering God Tower. I'm not here to ask you if you have the Qin Emperor's Soul Scroll. Lin Feng looked at Yuan Venerate Shi Wang and said, I'm here to take the Qin Emperor Soul Scroll. You don't have to give it to me. I'll find it myself. There was silence all around. All the venerates had ugly looks on their faces. Lin Feng wasn't giving them any face at all and was clearly threatening them. As the person in charge, Yuan Venerate Shi Wang was the first to bear the brunt of this. He was stuck between saving face and keeping the Murdering God Tower. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang's eyes turned cold. As the strongest Yuan Venerate of the Murdering God Tower, he had never been threatened like this before. He had always been the one to step on others. He had never been humiliated like this before. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang took a deep breath and smiled unnaturally. Brother Lin, please wait for a moment. I will personally go to the treasury and look for it. Please wait for a moment. After saying that, Yuan Venerate Shi Wang disappeared, ignoring the shocked gazes of the other cultivators around him. He had to endure. He had to endure. His head could be severed, his blood could be spilled, but his dignity couldn't be lost. However, Yuan Venerate Shi Wang wasn't the only one. He represented the entire murdering god tower and tens of thousands of cultivators. A wrong decision could very well ruin the foundation of the entire murdering god tower. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang didn't dare take the risk. Lin Feng's reputation was too resounding. Lin Feng's strength had undoubtedly been displayed in that short period of time. Yuan Venerate Shi Wang admitted that he wasn't a match for Luo Yunyang. Sigh. How did the 7th Mercenary Alliance produce such a monster? Yuan Venerate Shi Wang couldn't do anything other than sigh in his heart. He could only take out the Qin Emperor's soul scroll and send Lin Feng away. He knew that Lin Feng had come to take the treasure on one hand. On the other hand, he had come to make an example out of him and intimidate the members of the murdering god tower. However, what could he do? He was destined to be beaten up if he wasn't strong enough. There was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. News of Lin Feng stepping on the murdering god tower quickly spread throughout the 7th Sacred Realm. The other 3 big shots were all in danger, especially those in the spatial 30,000 Great Domains. Great Destitute Hall. Junior brother, the spatial 30,000 Great Domains just sent Yuan Venerate One Eye over with a treasure, Yuan Venerate Fu Li said. Is that so? Lin Feng took the treasure box from Yuan Venerate Fu Li and opened it. Rich source spirit power was contained within the exquisite spirit talisman. It was the last piece of the Qin Emperor's 5-piece set, the Qin Emperor's soul talisman. They are quite self-aware. Lin Feng smiled and put away the treasure box. Mobile version update website. Chapter 29:36. The Emperor Qin set was complete. Lin Feng had already refined the Emperor Qin's origin pearl and Emperor Qin's origin crystal. One strengthened his physical strength and defense, and the other strengthened his physical attack and explosive power. However, Lin Feng did not have time to cultivate for the time being. After all, he had just become an ultimate god and had to focus more on developing the universe in his body. The Emperor Qin's soul scroll and Emperor Qin's soul talisman were related to the origin soul. One improved the control of the origin soul and attack power, while the other improved the illusion ability and soul defense power. With the Emperor Qin's origin heart as the core, there were a total of 5 parts used individually. They were all top-notch chaos treasures. Once combined, they would become Hongmeng origin items and were very suitable for origin chaos venerables. The Emperor Qin should be a mind cultivator. The treasures of mind cultivators were very suitable for origin chaos venerables. They walked the path of Meng, one of the 2 paths of Hongmeng heavenly axiom. Such a set treasure was very rare. It was rare even among the Hongmeng origin items collected by the 100 million Wheelmaster. Basically, sets of primordial origin items are the best of the best in this grade. The Emperor Qin set should be the best of the ordinary Hongmeng origin items. Even if it was not at the level of the world Hongmeng origin items, its power was not far off. It was suitable for Lin Feng. After all, he was now an ultimate god. Although his internal universe was perfectly balanced, Lin Feng could not control the full power of the world Hongmeng origin items. However, ordinary Hongmeng origin items could. I'll refine it slowly. Lin Feng used his all-encompassing ability to refine the Emperor Qin set. The Emperor Qin set was just icing on the cake for him. Even if he completed the refinement, he would need to master the ability to use it. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. First, he had to deal with the matter of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. After the battle, he needed time to settle down. Lin Feng's fame could only be fully displayed in the 7th Mercenary Alliance. While using Hongmeng source crystals to expand his inner universe, Lin Feng strengthened his perfect origin body and origin soul, slowly increasing his strength. He wasn't in a hurry to enter the Taichu origin chaos universe. He had enough Hongmeng origin crystals anyway. It would take him the same amount of time to explore the Taichu origin universe. After Huang Zun was promoted to an ultimate god, Lin Feng's internal universe had entered a new level and opened up a vast space. With Lin Feng presiding over the 7th Mercenary Alliance, there was an endless stream of potential newcomers joining them. Furthermore, they occupied the heavenly Dao secret realm. In terms of cultivation grounds, there was no faction in the original universe that could compare to the 7th Mercenary Alliance. The other factions could only watch as the 7th Mercenary Alliance grew stronger, unable to stop it. Lin Feng would show his face from time to time. He had visited the Murdering God Tower before and had also visited other big shots over the past 10 epochs. Although he had disappeared for a while, news from the 7th Mercenary Alliance had spread that Lin Feng was still stationed there. The other factions were also helpless. What could they do if they weren't strong enough? The Murdering God Tower had even asked Green Ancestor for help, but Green Ancestor hadn't responded at all. This made Yuan Venerate Shi Wang very confused. Little did he know that Lin Feng's fame in the Hongmeng Ocean was much greater than in the original universe. Green Ancestor dared to challenge Lin Feng? With the Hongmeng fruit that Lin Feng gave us, the 7th Mercenary Alliance has 17 more Yuan Venerate powerhouses in the past 23 epochs. Yuan Venerate Yinwu reported a shocking number during the Yuan Venerate powerhouses meeting. In addition to the original 14 Yuan Venerates, the 7th Mercenary Alliance now had a total of 31 Yuan Venerate powerhouses. This was the total number of Yuan Venerates in the space 30,000 Great Boundaries and the Time Virtual Company. One's own strength was true strength. The 17 new Yuan Venerates were all the supreme Venerates that had stayed in the 7th Mercenary Alliance during the difficult times. Among them was Lin Feng's teacher, Supreme Venerate Anqing, who was now Yuan Venerate Anqing. The quality of his Hongmeng fruit was the best. Although Lin Feng was biased, no one would say anything. The contributions that Supreme Venerate Anqing had made to the 7th Mercenary Alliance were obvious to all. Furthermore, the Hongmeng fruit had originally belonged to Lin Feng, so he could give it to whoever he wanted. Anqing and I have sparred before. His strength is no longer below mine, Yuan Venerate Yinwu said with a smile. He didn't mind at all. He was happy that the 7th Mercenary Alliance and his brother were strong. It's not that I'm strong. It's just that the effects of the Hongmeng fruit are excellent. Supreme Venerate Anqing's talent wasn't as good as that of Yuan Venerate Thousand Faces of the Limitless Biology Corporation. However, the quality of the Hongmeng fruit that Lin Feng had given him was too high. It had directly changed Supreme Venerate Anqing's fate and increased his strength. All right, Anqing, don't be modest. Who doesn't know that you have accepted a good disciple? Yuan Venerate Wuyo chuckled. Yuan Venerate Anqing smiled faintly, but didn't say anything else. He had indeed accepted a good disciple. So what? A master would naturally feel proud if his disciple was powerful. If they had the ability, they could also accept one. Yuan Venerate Anqing was very satisfied when he thought about Lin Feng. His disciple's strength was one thing, but his character was another. Although Lin Feng was already invincible in Universe 7, he still had a pure heart and a humble character. He cultivated diligently day after day. Many super geniuses would become incoherent when they achieved success overnight, but Lin Feng wasn't like that. The blood of a powerhouse still burned in his body, and he had the purest heart of a powerhouse. Yuan Venerate Fugue, who was seated at the head of the table, had a smile on his face. The 7th Mercenary Alliance had been developing vigorously in the past 23 years and swept away all signs of decline. It had already firmly occupied the top position in Universe 7. Coupled with the addition of 17 new Yuan Venerates, the 7th Mercenary Alliance would have enough confidence even if Lin Feng left. So what if the other 4 big shots joined forces? The 7th Mercenary Alliance had already passed its most difficult period. There would be more and more Yuan Venerate powerhouses coming up. New almighties would appear. I hope Fugue can succeed. With the large amount of resources provided by Lin Feng, Fugue had already begun to break through. It was very likely that he would become the second almighty of the 7th Mercenary Alliance after Patriarch Taichung. If Fuguwei became an almighty, the 7th Mercenary Alliance would really have nothing to fear. Right at this moment, Yuan Venerate Fuguwei's expression changed drastically as he stood up in a panic. The group of Yuan Venerates stared blankly at Yuan Venerate Fuguwei, including Yuan Venerate Yinwu. He had never seen Yuan Venerate Fuguwei in such a state. What had happened? Whoosh! Yuan Venerate Fuguwei teleported away without saying a word. Primal Chaos Sky Palace, where Lin Feng was currently cultivating. Outside the Sky Palace, Shirwanli's huge figure was shrouded in chaos. Yi Yuan was cultivating beside Shirwanli. He was already a Venerate, and his improvement was extremely fast. With Lin Feng and Shirwanli behind him, Yi Yuan's cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. Whoosh! When Yuan Venerate Fuguei appeared, Shirwanli only glanced at him before continuing to gnaw on his braised dragon claw. Before Yi Yuan could greet him, Yuan Venerate Fuguei had already entered the Primal Chaos Sky Palace. Eldest senior brother? Lin Feng was also surprised. He had never seen such an expression on his eldest senior brother's face. Not good, junior brother. Something has happened to teacher. Yuan Venerate Fuguei had a grave expression. Chapter 29:37. Something had happened to teacher? Lin Feng was also stunned. He knew that his teacher, the Taichung Patriarch, was trapped in Homing's 1000 Perception Mountain and had always been in contact with his eldest senior brother and second senior brother. How could this happen so suddenly that even Lin Feng was caught off guard? Tell me slowly, senior brother. What exactly happened? Lin Feng took a deep breath. I'm not too sure about the details. Yuan Venerate Fuguei pursed his lips and said solemnly, the Taichung Patriarch has teacher's willpower sculpture in the sacred realm. I just received news that the willpower sculpture has started to crack. I tried to contact teacher, but there was no response. Willpower sculpture cracking? Let's go and take a look. Lin Feng forced himself to calm down and rushed over to the willpower sculpture with Yuan Venerate Fuguei. On the plaza, the willpower sculpture of the Taichung Patriarch had always been the symbol of the 7th Mercenary Alliance. Countless Venerates knelt down and worshipped it, especially in recent eras. At the moment, the Venerates surrounding the willpower sculpture were all shocked and whispering to each other. How could this be? Yeah. Why did the sculpture suddenly crack? Something big must have happened. There must be a problem. Crack. Crack. Fragments visible to the naked eye fell from the willpower sculpture. Swish. Swish. When Lin Feng and Yuan Venerate Fuguei appeared, the group of Venerates bowed and made way for them. They were the two big shots of the 7th Mercenary Alliance, especially Lin Feng, who was a super powerhouse revered by everyone. Ha! Lin Feng placed his palm on the willpower sculpture, but there was nothing there. He couldn't sense anything, let alone establish a connection with his teacher. The willpower sculpture in front of him was like a real sculpture that had gradually declined over the years. Something has really happened. Lin Feng's attainments in the Will Heavenly Tao were far above Yuan Venerate Fuguei's, so he naturally understood the willpower sculpture. The essence of the willpower sculpture was to use a willpower treasure as the core and separate a trace of consciousness to communicate with it. The core of the willpower sculpture was the willpower treasure. The core of the willpower treasure was the trace of consciousness of its owner. Now that the will statue was cracking and the fragments were falling off, it naturally meant that there was a problem with the will treasure within. What's the situation now? Is teacher still alive? Yuan Venerate Fuguei's voice trembled slightly. The relationship between master and disciple was unimaginable. The Taipong Patriarch wasn't just a teacher to Yuan Venerate Fuguei. He was also like a father, his closest kin. Now, the fate of his closest family member was unknown. Thus, no matter how good a Yuan Venerate's mental state was, it was difficult for him to remain calm. No matter how calm a person was, they still had feelings and weaknesses. I don't know either. Lin Feng stared at the will statue and said in a deep voice, there are many possibilities. Teacher might not have fallen. But even if he didn't, the situation now is very bad. After hesitating for a moment, Lin Feng didn't continue. Of course, he couldn't say that his teacher had fallen, even if he thought that the possibility was more than 50%. After all, if there was a problem with the will treasure, the key was the core of the will, the disappearance of the owner's will. That was why the willpower statue had cracked. However, one couldn't be too absolute. Teacher might have encountered some special situation, or his will might have been isolated, or he might have encountered a fortuitous encounter similar to the opening of a secret realm. Or maybe the Hongmeng Sea was huge, so there were too many possibilities. However, one thing was certain. Teacher was definitely in a very dangerous situation now. Furthermore, it was a great danger. I have to rush to Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain immediately. Senior brother, I'll leave this place to you. Lin Feng apologized. He had originally wanted to stay for a while longer, but now that something had happened to his teacher, he couldn't stay any longer. Although he might not be able to do anything if he rushed to Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain, it was better than staying here and doing nothing. Where there was a will, there was a way. As long as there was a glimmer of hope, Lin Feng wouldn't miss it. Go ahead. Yinwu and I are here. You don't have to worry about anything. Yuan Venerate Fuguei looked at Lin Feng seriously. It's also unfair for you to stay in Universe 7. Your world should be the vast Hongmeng Sea. Don't worry, senior brother. Teacher will be fine. Lin Feng comforted him. Yuan Venerate Fuguei nodded and patted Lin Feng on the shoulder. Teacher is open-minded by nature and is very open-minded about life and death. If he really encounters danger, it's also fate. Remember not to take too many risks after entering Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain. Teacher definitely wouldn't want you to lose everything just to save him. Do your best in everything. Life and death are predestined. Don't force it. Although Yuan Venerate Fuguei said this, he knew that he couldn't really persuade his junior brother. If his teacher really encountered any fatal danger, junior brother Lin Feng would definitely do everything he could to save his teacher. This was his nature. I understand, senior brother, Lin Feng replied. They hugged each other and said goodbye. Although they hadn't been together for a long time, they had established a deep relationship. Lin Feng treated the 7th Mercenary Alliance as his own home. Senior brother Fuguei and senior brother Fuguei were like brothers to him. After this farewell, he didn't know when they would meet again. Say goodbye to the other Yuan Venerates for me and second senior brother. I'm leaving, senior brother. Lin Feng didn't linger. He said goodbye to Yuan Venerate Fuguei and left. The sooner he got to Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain, the better his chances. All the Venerates watched as Lin Feng left. This was the first time many of them had seen Lin Feng, a legendary figure in Universe 7. At that moment, space rippled. Yin Wu, Shadow Gate, and Qing and the other Yuan Venerates had also received the news and rushed over. When they saw Lin Feng leave, they knew that the situation was serious. Don't worry, Fuguei. There won't be a problem. Yes, heaven helps the worthy. The Patriarch will definitely be able to hold on. Isn't there Lin Feng? The Patriarch will definitely be able to avert danger with him there. Don't worry too much. The 7th Mercenary Alliance still needs you. Yuan Venerate Fuguei forced a smile and nodded. As the person in charge of the 7th Mercenary Alliance, he couldn't let the other cultivators worry. He recalled that he and his teacher had discussed Lin Feng and accepted him as their junior brother. In the blink of an eye, things had changed. Their junior brother, who had needed their protection back then, was now able to take charge of an area on his own and had surpassed his teacher. His strength had even surpassed his teacher's. Even though he was the senior brother, he wasn't as calm and collected as his junior brother. Thinking back, Yuan Venerate Fuguei felt ashamed. Yuan Venerate Fuguei felt inexplicably confident when he recalled what Lin Feng had said before he left. No problem. He would definitely be able to avert danger. Wasn't it because his junior brother was around? Just like the 7th Mercenary Alliance, his junior brother had turned the situation around. This time, he would definitely be able to do the same. Junior brother. Yuan Venerate Fuguei looked at the distant void with deep emotion. He has already become a big shot. Chapter 29:38. Homing's Chinjua Mountain was ranked 9th in the Taichu territory. There were countless grand mist mountains in this place, spanning an endless number of light years. Countless powerful existences had fallen here. Unlike the 100 million wheels origin world, Homing's Chinjua Mountain had never produced a Khanate Grandmaster before. That was because Homing's Chinjua Mountain was too powerful. The more powerful it was, the more powerful the Khanate Grandmaster would produce. So, this is Homing's Chinjua Mountain. Lin Feng was now the strongest general in the army, and his status was equivalent to the green feather gods. However, he didn't command the army, so he was free to go wherever he wanted. Lin Feng could even retire and leave the army. His Homing's bipolar pagoda level had already met the requirements, and he only lacked missions. He only needed to pay a certain amount of Hongmeng origin crystals. However, there was no need for that. He was free anyway, and he had the army's golden signboard. At least he had someone to rely on. Hongming's Chinjua Mountain, one of the 1888 awakened lands, has been reborn after a dream. Lin Feng stood on Shirwan Li's back and looked down at the vast mountains and rivers. It was a lot easier with Shirwan Li beside him. Not only did he travel faster, but he also had time to spare. During the journey, Lin Feng learned a lot of information about Hongming's Chinjua Mountain through the green feather god, including some that were hidden. The army was the Taichu's super force, so their intelligence network was naturally one of the best. Teachers will suddenly disappeared, but it might not be because of his death. There's a small chance that he encountered an awakening and entered a long dream. Lin Feng didn't rule out this possibility, even though it was rare for powerful figures to enter Hongming's Chinjua Mountain to obtain such a great opportunity. However, it was obvious that his teacher had entered Hongming's Chinjua Mountain for this reason and stayed there for 17,800 years. It couldn't be just for adventure and training. Every secret realm had its own characteristics. For example, the 100 million wheels origin world contained the treasures and legends of the 100 million wheels lord. For example, the Grand Desolate Sky was a battlefield of gods in ancient times. The uniqueness of Hongming's Mount Chinjua was that there were 1,888 lands of awakening. Each of the lands of awakening was different from the rest, and each of the methods and effects of the awakening were unique. However, no matter what kind of awakening it was, they all had extraordinary effects. The most common awakenings were Bloodline Awakening and Potential Awakening, followed by Life Awakening and Talent Awakening. There were also many strange awakenings, but all of them had two things in common. Firstly, awakening was like sleeping. Sleeping for 10,000 years was not a joke. It was normal to sleep for 10,000 eras in the land of awakening. The stronger the awakening effect, the longer the sleep. Secondly, the awakening would definitely have an effect, and most of them would have a positive effect. Of course, there would be a small group of unlucky people who would get the opposite effect, but there was also a probability. As for the sudden disappearance of his teacher's will, Lin Feng was more inclined to believe that he had found the place of awakening and entered a state of sleep. Of course, this was the best hope. He couldn't possibly think that his teacher had already perished. There wasn't much killing in Hongming's Mount Chinjua, unlike the 100 million wheel origin realm, where everyone killed each other for treasures. Hongming's Mount Chinjua only had lands of awakening. Although there were many treasures in the mystic realm itself, such as Hongmeng fruits, rare materials, Hongmeng source items, and even Hongmeng beasts, few of these could make Almighties fight for their lives. The pursuits of Almighties were different from those of Peak Yuan Venerates. Peak Yuan Venerates pursued breaking through bottlenecks, transcending the universe, and becoming an eternal existence. Almighties pursued stronger heavenly laws and power, as well as the limits of their own abilities. Awakening, what can I awaken? Lin Feng was also very curious. The potential in his body seemed to have been tapped to its limits, and his path to becoming a primal chaos supreme venerate was smooth sailing. As long as he followed the normal path, he could smoothly become a Yuan venerate, and then possess the original universe's heavenly great path will to become a super almighty. The current heavenly great path will of the original universe had already become a bird in a cage. Given Lin Feng's strength, the success rate of possession was more than 90%. As long as there were no accidents, he would definitely succeed. However, this wasn't Lin Feng's true pursuit. When everything was at his fingertips, it meant that these weren't his limits. It was just a visible limit and not the real limit. It's still early. This is not the only path I have. Becoming a peak Yuan venerate and possessing the original universe's heavenly great path, Will of the original universe, was only one of the paths. However, Lin Feng wanted to carve out a path that belonged to him. A path that was stronger than all the Huang Zun, ultimate venerates, and Yuan venerates in the history of the Hongmeng Sea. I wonder which predecessor has taken this path before. Lin Feng's eyes flickered. At the moment, Shi Wanli had already found the path to enter Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain. The sky was filled with chaos and dense Hongmeng airflow. Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain was like a dream. If one entered Hongmeng airflow directly, it would be very easy to get lost and be trapped in Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain. Given Lin Feng's willpower, he wouldn't fall into the illusion. However, this would undoubtedly waste a lot of time and make it even more difficult to find his teacher. The path in front of him was very clear. The endless mountain range was under Shi Wanli's wings. Hongmeng airflow was much denser than in the 100 million wheel origin realm. Many Hongmeng fruits and powerful Hongmeng beasts could be nurtured there. There were 3 dangers in Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain. The first was the terrain of Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain. It was easy to enter a deep illusion, especially when it was constantly cut off from the outside world of Hongmeng. This made it even more difficult for cultivators below the realm of Almighty to advance. The second danger was the violent Hongmeng beasts. These Hongmeng beasts were born by sucking Hongmeng airflow. They were born from the heavens and earth. Although they didn't have intelligence, they possessed great strength. Of course, if they had intelligence, they would be Xiantian Almighty. The third danger was Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain itself. Some Almighty who weren't prepared enough would fall into it and be unable to extricate themselves. However, this was something that Lin Feng could avoid because he had a lot of information on hand. Even if these 3 dangers were eliminated, it didn't mean that he was absolutely safe. After all, there were countless Almighty in Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain. It was hard to know what a person's heart was thinking. Although there were rarely fights for treasures here, one would never know what an Almighty was thinking. One shouldn't have the heart to harm others, but one should always be on guard against others. Wow, it's really the Hongmeng airflow. There's so much of it. Yuan was on Shi Wanli's back, following Big Brother and Second Brother as they roamed the Hongmeng Sea. Although she was just an ordinary venerable, with Shi Wanli's protection, Yuan's safety wasn't a problem. Moreover, the effects of cultivating in the Hongmeng Sea and in the original universe were worlds apart. Don't be surprised. Shi Wanli's mouth was stuffed with a stewed dragon claw. His words were unclear as he spread his wings and quickly entered Hongmeng's Qinjue Mountain. The space outside became blurry. Lin Feng's senses had already spread out, exploring the entire area. This is number 369, Hongmeng Mountain. Mobile version update website. Chapter 2939. The 1888 Awakened Lands corresponded to the 1888 Hongmeng Mountains. Every Hongmeng Mountain was comparable to a huge galaxy, and every one of them had a unique topography or coordinates. For example, Hongmeng Mountain number 369 had a towering Huyin pagoda. Even if one was a million light years away, one could still see the strange scenery. When Lin Feng saw the Huyin pagoda, he knew that this was Hongmeng Mountain number 369. The last recorded awakening of Hongmeng Mountain number 369 was 39. 2 million years ago. The military's information was very detailed. The awakening of every Hongmeng Mountain was separated by at least 100 million years. In other words, it was impossible for Hongmeng Mountain number 369 to awaken. Since I can't contact my teacher, I can only start from the time of the awakening. 99% of the powerful beings who entered Hongmeng Mountain Thousand Perception were heading toward awakening, and 99% of them would enter Hongmeng Mountain with the possibility of awakening. His teacher was no exception. Of course, the information wasn't 100% accurate. Although there were signs of awakening, it might not be seen by cultivators. It was possible that an awakening occurred in a certain Hongmeng Mountain, but it wasn't recorded. However, Lin Feng could not care less about this. He could only distinguish it from the military's records. Currently, there is no news of any Hongmeng Mountain awakening. This was the first thing Lin Feng asked the Green Feather God. If a Hongmeng Mountain awakened, the problem would be solved when they lost contact with his teacher. But now there was none. Without a doubt, the possibility of him losing contact with his teacher due to awakening was reduced. Xiaoling, how many Hongmeng Mountains can awaken now? Lin Feng asked. As the spirit of Hongmeng, Xiaoling was comparable to a top-level intelligence. It was easy for her to deal with the problem and make a judgment. Her light voice quickly sounded, "There are 577 Hongmeng Mountains, Master." So many? The number was somewhat beyond Lin Feng's expectations. After all, it could only be reactivated after 100 million eras, which meant that 1/3 of Hongmeng Mountains could awaken now. Because there are many awakenings that have not been recorded, the number is not accurate, Master. Xiaoling replied. According to the Taichu's analysis, the number of Hongmeng Mountains that can awaken is about 200. Lin Feng nodded. Is there a probability statistic? Master, please take a look. Xiaoling's voice rang out, and a clear record instantly appeared in Lin Feng's mind. Based on the past awakenings in Hongmeng Mountain, the time of the last awakening, the time before that, and the frequency of the awakenings before that, the top AI made a judgment. Hongmeng Mountain 1027, 91%. 83. 2. This is the probability of awakening in each Hongmeng Mountain in the next 100 eras, Master, Xiaoling said. Lin Feng nodded. Is the probability statistic updated at any time? This is the data released by the Dao Amplification Palace. It is updated every 10 eras. Xiaoling said. This data was released 3 years ago. The next data release will be 7 years later. This data can be seen by anyone, right? Lin Feng asked. Yes, Master, Xiaoling replied. Lin Feng was deep in thought. If he were his teacher and came for the awakening, he would naturally act according to this probability and choose a suitable Hongmeng Mountain. He might not necessarily move every 10 eras, but he would definitely adjust his thoughts and position due to the different probability. Although his teacher was a pinnacle mighty figure, there was still a gap between him and the Taichu cultivators who were also at the pinnacle. Moreover, there was a limit to the mighty figures above the pinnacle. His teacher's strength was above average among the mighty figures of Hongmeng's Mount Qianjua Mountain. Xiaoling, let me see all the probability statistics for the past 100 years. Lin Feng did not have any clues at the moment. He could only analyze and exclude, according to the probability statistics table, to deduce which Hongmeng Mountain had the highest probability of his teacher being at. Please take a look, Master. Xiaoling was quite efficient. In an instant, 10 probability statistics appeared in front of him. Lin Feng looked through them carefully. There were many patterns. For example, Hongmeng Mountain 1027 had a probability of 91% now, but it was 86% before the 10th era and 82% before the 20th era. It was in a state of gradual increase. Hongmeng Mountain 259 had a probability of 51% now, but it was 62% before the 10th era and 71% before the 20th era. It was in a state of decline. For example, Hongmeng Mountain 1 had a probability of 0, 1% now, but it was still 0, 1% before the 10th era, and it was still 0, 1% before the 20th era. It did not move at all. Most Hongmeng Mountains are in one of these 3 patterns. It's either increasing, decreasing, or not moving at all. There are very few Hongmeng Mountains that go up and down. If I were my teacher, the probability of choosing Hongmeng Mountains is the lowest. The probability of choosing Hongmeng Mountains is second. The probability of choosing Hongmeng Mountains is the highest. The probability of choosing Hongmeng Mountains is the same. Hongmeng Mountains with increasing probability meant that it was a popular choice. It would definitely be the choice of most mighty figures. His teacher's strength was not considered top-notch. He would be at a disadvantage if he were to compete with others. No matter how high the probability of a land of awakening was, it would not be higher than the number of cultivators. Even if it was a 100% probability, the probability would still be extremely low if the number of mighty figures competing for it was excluded. Hongmeng Mountains like this were suitable for mighty figures to compete for. The Hongmeng Mountains were in a declining state, and the probability was different every 10 years. This meant that the teacher had to shift frequently. The Hongmeng 1000 Perception Mountain was huge, and it was very dangerous. Shifting positions everywhere would waste a lot of time and energy, and all kinds of unimaginable possibilities would occur. Therefore, the most suitable place was Hongmeng Mountains with stable probability. Moreover, the probability would not be very high. This way, there would be fewer mighty figures choosing Hongmeng Mountains. Of course, Hongmeng Mountain 1 only had a 0.1% probability. His teacher would definitely not choose it. Xiaoling, help me select all Hongmeng Mountains with a probability of 1% to 10% for 100 eras, said Linfeng. Yes, master. Xiaoling finished her sentence and finished the selection. 1673 Hongmeng Mountain 9, 5%. 66 Hongmeng Mountain 5, 0%. 123 Hongmeng Mountain 1, 3%. There were only 3 Hongmeng Mountains. The number was lower than expected. Lin Feng's eyes shone brightly. Use 3 colors to mark the 3 routes for me. Hua! The map of Hongmeng Mountains immediately changed. 3 different lights lit up, including Lin Feng's position. The 3 routes were like a trident. The closest one was Hongmeng Mountain 123, and the furthest one was Hongmeng Mountain 1673. Lin Feng's gaze was firmly locked on Hongmeng Mountain 66. Purely based on his judgment, his teacher had the highest probability of being on Hongmeng Mountain 66. I want to see the detailed information of the 3 Hongmeng Mountains. Lin Feng would not let go of any possibility. He had to find his teacher. Chapter 2940. 5% represented the possibility of awakening within the next 100 years. In other words, the land of awakening would appear around 2,000 years. His teacher had stayed on Hongmeng's Qinjua Mountain for 17,800 years. Every time he chose a Hongmeng Mountain, the probability and number of moves would be balanced and acceptable. If he chose number 123, Hongmeng Mountain, the 3% probability would be equivalent to waiting 10,000 eras for awakening. The efficiency was too low. As for number 1673, Hongmeng Mountain, the 10% probability meant that many almighties would choose this Hongmeng Mountain. Of course, there were chances for all 3 Hongmeng Mountains, but Lin Feng was more inclined to choose number 66 Hongmeng Mountain. Let's go to the nearest Hongmeng Mountain, number 123. Although number 123 Hongmeng Mountain wasn't on the route to number 66 Hongmeng Mountain, a slight detour could eliminate this possibility. Lin Feng was still willing to give it a try. The probability of his teacher being on number 123 Hongmeng Mountain was also about 10%. However, number 123 Hongmeng Mountain didn't need to be searched too carefully. If there were no abnormalities, they could go straight to number 66 Hongmeng Mountain. In Lin Feng's opinion, the probability of his teacher being on number 66 Hongmeng Mountain was close to 40%. Let's go, second brother. Shirwan Li's speed was rather fast. With a body length of 1,000,000 miles, he was naturally proud of his flying ability, which was much faster than the speed of light. There was no limit to his speed in the Hongmeng Sea. As long as his internal universe was strong enough, he could display his full speed. In Universe 7, Shirwan Li was like a dragon swimming in shallow water. He simply couldn't display his full strength. After returning to the Hongmeng Sea, he could display a speed thousands of times faster than in Universe 7, even in Hongmeng's Qinjua Mountain, where the energy pressure was strong. Hongmeng's 1000 Perception Mountain was special. It fused with Hongming's airflow to create endless illusions. It was isolated from the outside world, making it even harder for Almighties to distinguish between reality and illusion. However, even though Shi Wanli was a peak Yuan venerate, he was much stronger than Almighties in this aspect. As for Yi Yuan, he had already entered Lin Feng's internal universe. There were some places where he was unable to truly gain a foothold with his strength. That's Garuda. That Garuda bird in the video, that is 1,000,000 miles long. Wow, it's Lin Feng. It must be the legendary Lin Feng. Many Almighties were able to see 100,000 miles. It was hard not to see such an exaggerated body length, especially since Shi Wanli's aura was only that of a peak Yuan venerate. A normal Almighty's Garuda bird was Shi Wanli's body length, but a peak Yuan venerate like Shi Wanli was 1,000,000 miles long, so it was hard not to be recognized. Seeing Shi Wanli meant seeing Lin Feng. Lin Feng, who had made a name for himself during the investiture of the Gods Challenge, was a Taichu hero. Every Taichu cultivator now had a lot of face and glory in the Hongmeng realm, making the other cultivators of the chaotic origin universe very envious. Lin Feng has appeared again. Brother, we saw Lin Feng in Hongmeng's Qinjua Mountain. It's really that Garuda bird. It's unique in the entire Taichu, so there's no mistaking it. Lin Feng is inseparable from that Garuda bird and is fixed on its back. But it's strange that I didn't sense Lin Feng's aura. Could he really not be here? Stupid, really stupid. Lin Feng was already at the peak of Huang Zun, and his internal universe was comparable to an Almighty's. Now that he has become a godly venerate, the strength and perfection of his internal universe are much stronger than ordinary Almighty's. It's normal that you can't sense him. Hongmeng's Qinjua Mountain has many areas that isolate the aura of Hongmeng. If one's internal universe isn't perfect, they will definitely die. How could Lin Feng be so stupid? Doesn't that mean Lin Feng will soon challenge the Ultimate Gods Investiture list? How can it be so soon? The Ultimate Gods Investiture list is 1,000 times more difficult than Huang Zun's investiture list. Even if Lin Feng wants to challenge it, he'll have to wait until he's a peak ultimate god. It's impossible for him to do so now. However, it's quite unpredictable that he entered Hongmeng's Qinjua Mountain. What's so hard to guess? Many Almighties want to awaken, and Lin Feng must also want to do so. Once awakened, no matter what kind of awakening it is, it'll be of great help to cultivators. The Taichu's origin chaotic universe became lively again. News about Lin Feng spread like wildfire and soon spread throughout the Taichu's origin chaotic universe. In particular, the various forces who had been paying attention to Lin Feng widened their eyes. It was not easy to wait for Lin Feng to show up, so they naturally wanted to win him over. Lin Feng was a hot steam bun to any force. His strength and potential, as well as his great influence on the Taichu, made Lin Feng's value no less than a universe dominator. Daoyan Palace. A red-clothed young man stopped moving. His eyes flashed as two emerald bamboo-like scimitars shone brightly. A Taoist with a big head next to him nodded with satisfaction. Not bad. Teacher, can my current strength be compared to Lin Feng's? The red-clothed young man's eyes showed a deep desire to fight. He was little Hong Dao Rue Yi, who was pushed down from the top spot by Lin Feng on the Taichu's Huang Zun list. His teacher was the Dao Yin Palace's universe dominator, Peng Dao. If you're compared to Lin Feng during the investiture list challenge, you're naturally stronger. Peng Dao stroked his mustache and smiled. However, it said that Lin Feng has also broken through to the ultimate god venerate level. It's hard to say who's stronger. Little Hong Dao Rue Yi smiled. It'll be boring if he doesn't become stronger. Peng Dao nodded. Good disciple. You're ambitious. That's what you need. You're different from Lin Feng. He came from an unorthodox background, while you came from an orthodox background. He might have encountered a great opportunity to become stronger than you, but as long as he continues to cultivate, teacher thinks that his future is not as good as yours. Little Hong Dao Rue Yi smiled. However, he's stronger than me now. Peng Dao pursed his lips, but did not refute because that was indeed the truth. After Lin Feng became a godly venerate, he would definitely be stronger than his disciple. Even when he became a Yuan venerate, Rui Yi would not be able to catch up to Lin Feng. However, the difference between almighties and almighties was another matter. There's no need to worry about temporary gains and losses. Pang Dao shook his head. Almighties are just fleeting clouds. Furthermore, the ruler of the universe is the true ruler. Your chances of becoming the ruler of the universe are much higher than Lin Feng's. Clang! Little Hong Dao Rui Yi sheathed his blade and bowed slightly. Thank you for your guidance, teacher. You don't have to be so polite with me. Pang Dao smiled. He was slightly startled when he saw Little Hong Dao Rui Yi's expression. What do you want to do? Little Hong Dao Rui Yi said. I want to make a trip to Homing's Mount Qianjue. Looking for Lin Feng? Pang Dao narrowed his eyes. Little Hong Dao Rui Yi nodded. It's not about winning or losing. I want to have a match with him. How could Pang Dao not understand his proud disciple's intentions? He rubbed his mustache and said, Go on. It's not bad to gain experience once in a while. Thank you, teacher. Little Hong Dao Rui Yi bowed and left. Mobile version update website. M. Chapter 2941. Even though Shi Wan Li's speed was fast, the Homing's 1,000 Perception Mountain was vast and had a large amount of energy. It could even isolate the aura of the Hongmeng Sea, so it took a lot of energy to overcome the resistance. Along the way, he saw many powerful beings searching for the location of the awakened land. This was an opportunity for those powerful beings who were in the middle and lower levels. Humans were divided into different levels, so were the powerful beings. Ordinary powerful beings had their limits. Who did not want to be the leader of the powerful beings? Who did not want to be the master of the universe? A soldier who did not want to be a general was not a good soldier. Moreover, those who could reach the level of a powerful being were all super life forms that were outstanding in a certain aspect. They would not be satisfied with their current limits. Hongmeng Beast. Lin Feng saw the Hongmeng Beast for the first time in Hongmeng Mountain, 1709. It was like a divine beast born from the clouds. It was orange in color and surrounded by the Hongmeng airflow. It was like a child born from the Hongmeng airflow. It had the strength of an ordinary powerful being. This Hongmeng beast looked at Shi Wan Li, who was thousands of times bigger than it, and was very curious. Lin Feng did not have such a strong killing intent. Some Hongmeng beasts were aggressive, and some were not. There was no need to kill those Hongmeng beasts that were not aggressive. Time was the most important thing. The sooner he found his teacher, the higher the chance of his teacher surviving. There was no need to create more problems on the way. It might be very tasty, 100,000 miles mumbled. He glanced at the exquisite primordial beast from the corner of his eyes and swallowed his saliva. He had never eaten an innate life form born from the primordial world. When we're done, you can eat whatever you want. Lin Feng knew his second brother's temperament the best. You have to keep your word, big brother. Shi Wan Li suppressed his desire for good food. He knew that the matter at hand was very important to his big brother, Lin Feng, and could not be delayed. It would be a headache if he caused trouble because of eating this Hongmeng beast. Yes, Lin Feng's gaze swept across the Hongmeng Mountains. Lin Feng had actually explored every single one of the Hongmeng Mountains. He would not let go of any opportunity. What if there were clues about his teacher? Sometimes, no matter how much analysis you did, you could still make a mistake. What is this? On Hongmeng Mountain, 1709, Lin Feng was surprised to find a strange sight. There was a pitch-black spatial crack, emitting an indescribably terrifying aura, and the crack was constantly expanding. Deja vu, Blackboard. Lin Feng naturally wouldn't forget his first mission as a newcomer, which was to eliminate the universe-devouring insects. In a crack similar to a black hole, there was a universe-devouring queen insect in the black disk, which was constantly producing universe-devouring insects. However, that was the border of the wilderness. According to the data, the areas where the blackboard appeared were usually in the relatively empty areas of the Hongmeng Sea. Appearing in Homing's Mount Qianjue? He had never heard of it before. Whoosh! Lin Feng and Shi Wan Li sped past, but did not enter to investigate. To Lin Feng, there was no need to be curious. His only goal was to find his teacher. Xiaoling, help me check. Has a blackboard appeared in Hongming's Mount Qinjue before? Lin Feng asked. Master, please wait, Xiaoling said, and fell into a short silence. Soon, her gentle voice rang in Lin Feng's mind again. There is no record of it in Hongming's Mount Qinjue's data. Is that so? Lin Feng was slightly surprised. Maybe it's just a spatial crack, or maybe it's damage caused by a powerhouse during a battle. It doesn't have to be a blackboard. Hongming's Mount Qinjue was the 9th secret realm in the Taichu realm. Anything could happen. Moreover, even if a blackboard appeared, it would not be a big deal. The frequency of blackboards appearing in Hongming's Sea was unusually high. Lin Feng could see a cleanup mission almost every time he was in a military camp. If Universe 7 was like this, the Taichu's Origin Chaos universe would only be more. All the universe's warriors were forced to complete this mission. The universe-devouring bugs' attack power was not strong, but they were quite dangerous because they could nibble away at the universe. They were like cockroaches that could not be killed. You would never know how many of them there were. The meaning of their existence seemed to be to eat the universe. It was the instinct of life. The first era, the second era, the third era. Lin Feng traveled through Hongming's Mount Qinjue, and he was getting closer to Hongming Mountain 123. After seeing a blackboard for the first time at Mount Qinjue 1709, Lin Feng successively saw blackboards at Mount Hongming 691, Mount Hongming 228, and Mount Hongming 1041. Among them, there was more than one blackboard at Mount Hongming 1041. Mount Hongming 1041. Lin Feng had an impression of this Hongming mountain. One was that it was very close to Mount Hongming 123, only separated by a mountain. Another was that it had appeared in the statistics of the probability of Hongming Mountain 100 years ago. It was a Hongming mountain with a decreasing probability. 100 years ago, the probability of Hongming Mountain 1041 was 23%. By the 10th era, the probability had decreased to 7%. In such a situation, it was not certain whether there had been a cultivator who had awakened, so the probability would gradually decrease. I saw 3 blackboards. If I search carefully, there may be hundreds or more blackboards in Hongming Mountain 1041. Lin Feng had passed through Hongming Mountain 1041 directly, so he had not even passed through 1/10,000th of the actual area. Even so, he had already seen 3 blackboards. It was hard to imagine how many blackboards there were on Hongming Mountain 1041. If this is really a blackboard, it would be very troublesome if it landed on Mount Qinjue in Hongming. Lin Feng thought to himself, if it landed on the edge of the universe or in a remote area of the Hongming Sea, he could send universe warriors to clean up. However, what if it landed on Mount Qinjue in Hongming? Mount Qinjue in Hongming required the strength of an almighty to enter. It was impossible to send a team of Yuan venerates to clean it up. They would probably perish on Mount Qinjue in Hongming before finding the blackboard. Forget it. Let's not think too much. There will be a solution. This is not something I need to worry about. Furthermore, I did not see any space-devouring bugs. It might not be a blackboard, but something similar to it. The reason Lin Feng was so concerned about the blackboard was not because the space-devouring bugs were special, but because at this stage, any strange phenomenon that occurred on Mount Qinjue in Hongming could be related to his teacher. He would not let go of any possibility. Up ahead is Hongming Mountain 123. I hope teacher is there. I hope teacher is safe. Lin Feng and Shi Wanli shuttled through. At this time, from the black crack behind Lin Feng, huge insects flew out like road rollers. They had saw-like sharp teeth, brown-yellow carapaces with complicated patterns on them, and blood-red eyes. Their voices were extremely ear-piercing. Every huge bug contained a strange energy. Even though they did not have intelligence, they could devour energy and gnaw on the universe. They were so densely packed that they seemed to want to conquer Hongming Mountain 1041. Space-devouring bugs. Chapter 2942. Old bro. How is awakening triggered? Luck and strength. I don't understand. There are 2 kinds of awakening possibilities. The first is what we call awakening in the normal sense. When a Hongmeng mountain awakens, it will emit a strange light. Whoever is lucky and is closer to it will be favored by the god of luck. Purely based on luck. Not entirely. There's a 2 to 3 second trigger time after entering the awakening land. The awakened Almighty must not have any energy waves and quietly accept the awakening. If interrupted, the awakening will not be successful. Understood. There will be a bloody battle. So it's luck and strength. If you have enough strength to prevent other Almighties from interfering, you can enter the awakening state in the awakening land. At that time, no one will be able to hurt you, not even the universe ruler. I see. What's the second possibility? The second is simple. If the potential in your body coincides with the awakening, it will be like a bull and a cow eyeing each other. The fire will be uncontrollable. However, the probability is too small. Don't think too much about it. How can I not think about it, old bro? Number 123, Hongmeng Mountain only has a 1.3% chance. I don't know how many epochs I will have to wait. The two bull race almighties were casually conversing and didn't seem to be wary of Lin Feng, who wasn't far away. There weren't many killings in the Hongmeng Thousand Perception Mountain, and almighties wouldn't normally fight when they bumped into each other unless they had some old grudges. After all, everyone awakened for the awakening, not for treasures. Sometimes, when Hongmeng's origin items were unearthed, they would just laugh it off. It was very different from the 100 million wheels of Origin World. The level of practitioners was different. In Hongmeng Mountain, everyone was an almighty. Which one of them did not have any treasures or Hongmeng's origin items? Shua, Hua, the aura dispersed. Lin Feng and Shi Wanli split up to search. Although number 123, Hongmeng Mountain only had a 1.3% chance of awakening, Lin Feng felt that there was a 10% chance that his teacher was here. They cannot miss it. However, their real target was number 66 Hongmeng Mountain. It had a 5% chance of awakening. I'll search once. Shi Wanli will search once. If there are no special circumstances, we'll pass. We'll go directly to number 66 Hongmeng Mountain. Lin Feng was very clear. The shrunken Yuan on his shoulder was cultivating diligently. Although Shi Wanli's back, Yuan was more suitable for cultivation, Lin Feng. Number 123 Hongmeng Mountain was very peaceful. The 1.3% chance was very small, but there were still many almighties wandering around, hoping to try their luck. Basically, the almighties in Hongmeng Mountain weren't strong. Those almighties who were confident in their own strength would usually choose Hongmeng Mountain, which had a higher chance of winning, to fight with their fists instead of trying their luck here. Seniors, have you been here for a long time? Lin Feng came to the two ox tribe, almighties, and asked. It's been 50 years. The slightly older ox race almighty figure glanced at Lin Feng. It's 500 eras, brother. The younger ox tribe almighties reminded him. Isn't it the same? The older ox tribe almighties did not understand. The younger ox tribe almighty smiled and said, I'm sorry, little brother. I don't have much concept of time. I cultivate for a long time. It's fine. Lin Feng turned on his AI. The image of Patriarch Taichung appeared. Seniors, have you seen this almighties on number 123, Hongmeng Mountain? Lin Feng was still a little reserved when they first met. He did not tell them about Patriarch Taichung's identity or his relationship with him. The two ox tribe almighty stared for a while and shook their heads. Okay, thank you, seniors. Lin Feng was slightly disappointed, but this was within his expectations. Even if his teacher was on number 123 Hongmeng Mountain, he might not have met the two ox tribe almighties. It seems like my teacher isn't here. Including the previous inquiries, there were a total of 12 almighties who had never seen his teacher. Lin Feng knew that the chances of his teacher being on number 123 Hongmeng Mountain were very low. Let's continue searching. Lin Feng continued searching. As Lin Feng left, the younger ox tribe almighties looked at the older ox tribe almighties. He was puzzled. Brother, didn't we see this naked weirdo before? Why did you say you didn't see him? The older ox tribe almighties was stunned. We didn't see him on number 123 Hongmeng Mountain. I've told you many times that you can't lie. You have to be realistic. Got it. Oh, I got it, brother. The young, powerful being of the Ox clan nodded his head. Number 123 Hongming Mountain was huge. Lin Feng and Shi Wanli spent a lot of effort to roughly search. This was because Lin Feng had asked many almighties, and none of them had seen his teacher, so he decided to speed up his search. Otherwise, with the size of Hongming Mountain, even a rough search would take at least a few epochs. It was normal for one almighty to not see his teacher, but dozens of almighties on Hongming Mountain had not seen his teacher. This was enough to explain the problem. His teacher was really not here. Shall we go, brother? Shi Wanli nibbled on his dragon tongue and licked his beak as he asked delightedly. This kind of search was the easiest for him. He just needed to flap his wings and nibble on the dragon tongue and claws. Soon he was done. Let's go to number 66, Hongming Mountain. Lin Feng looked around. They had searched more than 99% of Hongming Mountain. There was nothing left. They could focus on heading to Hongming Mountain. Just as they were about to leave, rumble, the earth shook violently. The Hongming airflow around Lin Feng rippled. It was chaotic. Lin Feng floated in midair and looked at the ground below him as it began to collapse. Streaks of dark red light shot out from the ground, as if there was a huge burning star at the center of the earth. Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat at the shocking release of energy. What was going on? It can't be. Lin Feng looked at the ground in a daze. As the surface collapsed, it was as if a hole had been opened in Hongming Mountain. Countless Hongming airflow entered the ground and gathered into a beam. The dark red light grew brighter and brighter. The ground below him shook violently, as if some terrifying monster was about to break out. Boom, boom, boom. The earth's crust cracked open. The dark red light shone like a rising star. It was a dark red stone slab that had been cut neatly. It was incomparably huge, at least 2 light years long and wide. It was covered with strange carvings that connected to form a pattern that contained ancient secrets. The dark red light was the manifestation of the carvings. The most eye-catching thing was the layer of milky white halo in the middle. All the energy seemed to be emitted from this place, full of mystery and the unknown. This was the land of awakening. 3% chance. I found it? Lin Feng did not know whether to laugh or cry. Chapter 2943. Flowers planted with the intention do not bloom, but unintentionally planted willows, the willows grow. Lin Feng tried his best to find traces of his teacher, but to no avail. He was about to head to Hongming Mountain number 66, but he did not expect to encounter the land of awakening. Normally, Lin Feng would not hesitate to awaken. After all, the awakening of Hongming's Thousand Perception Mountain was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and the advantages outweighed the disadvantages. But now, one awakening is at least counted in epochs. If I go in and come out again, I'm afraid things will have changed. To Lin Feng, awakening was icing on the cake, and it was not the most important thing at the moment. Even if he did not awaken, the path of the primordial chaos venerable would be smooth. Awakening would at most save him some time. If he missed the opportunity to save his teacher in order to awaken, he would not be at ease for the rest of his life. He would do his best and leave the rest to fate. However, if he did not do his best, it would be an eternal regret. Second brother, are you interested? Lin Feng looked at Shi Wanli. The latter only glanced at him and refused without hesitation. What a joke. He had finally come out of the eternal world and had not enjoyed the Hongming Sea's boundless delicacies. Was he going to go into seclusion to awaken again? No way. Lin Feng let Shi Wanli do as he wished. He was talented and had the inheritance of the master of 100 million wheels. It did not matter if he awakened or not. The most suitable person to awaken was Yi Yuan. Unfortunately, Yi Yuan's internal universe was not strong enough, so he could not awaken. Let's see who's lucky. The land of awakening was not unique. Any almighty could enter. As the huge stone slab rose, the engravings became brighter and brighter. The dark red light covered a larger area, and more almighty could see it. I wonder if my awakening this time belongs to the first or the second type. Looking at the huge, dark red stone slab, Lin Feng was more inclined to the second type, as if it was summoning him. He had only been in the 123 Hongmeng Sea for a few years, and he had already triggered it. Lin Feng did not believe that he had such good luck. On the other hand, the second type was more likely. He was an ultimate god with enough potential in his body to trigger the awakening. If it's the second option, even if we don't enter the land of awakening here, we can still enter the land of awakening in other Hongmeng mountains. Lin Feng smiled. Even if it's the first type, I can still go to Hongmeng Mountain, which has a probability of more than 90%, and directly snatch it from other great powers. Wasn't it just awakening? The other Almighties cared, but Lin Feng didn't. The most important thing now was to find the whereabouts of his teacher. Old brother, what is that? The young ox race Almighty being pointed not far away. Oh, Xiaoguang, the elder bull said casually. Suddenly, he turned his bull head and opened his eyes wide. Vision? It's a vision, brother. Quick, go quickly. That must be the land of awakening. The older ox race great being couldn't even speak clearly. His enormous figure was exceptionally nimble, immediately flying over. Land of awakening? The young ox race almighty being was stunned. He didn't expect that he would bump into the old ox race almighty being with a 1.3% chance. His vision blurred, and the old ox race almighty being had already disappeared. Wait for me, old brother. Land of awakening. We're rich. Quick, don't let the other almighties snatch it. This land of awakening is mine. The dark red light lit up the Hongmeng Mountain like a red sunset. All the powerful beings in the vicinity were boiling with excitement. However, the distance was different, and the time they saw the red sunset was different as well. In addition to their own location, the time they arrived before the red sunset was very different. Hua, the first to arrive, was the elder ox race almighty being. Although his speed wasn't fast, he was close. He came over as soon as he saw the dark red sunset. When he saw Lin Feng, he couldn't help but be stunned. He recognized Lin Feng, the supreme god who had asked him for directions. It wasn't rare to see almighties in Hongmeng Mountain Thousand Perception, but the supreme god was still fresh in his memory. Please. Lin Feng winked at the elder ox race almighty being. If he didn't enter, there was no reason for him to delay the other cultivators. Me? The elder ox race almighty being's eyes were wide open. He didn't know what Lin Feng was planning. At this moment, another light flashed by. It was the younger ox race almighty being. When he saw Lin Feng, he was also stunned. Seniors, don't be stunned. Hurry up, Lin Feng urged. Oh, the elder ox race almighty being couldn't wrap his head around it. However, this wasn't the time to think about it. He swung his hooves and instantly flew to the dark red slate and was sucked into the white halo. Hiss, hiss, the dark red engravings were like snakes slithering around the huge slate. In an instant, the entire slate shot out billions of rays of red light. The white halo's dense energy enveloped the elder ox race almighty being. The engravings lit up and dimmed like the blooming of an epiphyllum. Rumble, the huge slate fell from midair like a meteorite. In the blink of an eye, it landed on the endless Hongmeng Mountains. The huge impact caused the surrounding rocks to crack and the mountain peaks to collapse. Soon, the huge slate was completely covered. So this is what awakening is like. This was the first time Lin Feng saw it. Furthermore, it was at such a close distance. It was considered an eye-opener. Damn it, I was one step too slow. Many almighties arrived from all directions. They could still see the mountain peaks collapsing and the earth's crust shaking. However, they couldn't see the land of awakening. Their faces were filled with disappointment. Many of them had been waiting for this one. 3% chance for thousands of years. In the end, it was all for naught. Luck and strength. In Hongmeng's Thousand Senses Mountain, luck was especially important. One by one, the almighty beings left while cursing. Only the young almighty being from the Ox clan was staring at the place where the land of awakening had sunk. Swayer raised his head and stared at Lin Feng with a puzzled expression. Why did you give it to my brother? The other almighties didn't know, but the young ox race almighty saw Lin Feng. I'm looking for an almighty. I can't awaken now. Lin Feng didn't hide it. The Almighty in front of him knew that he was looking for someone. Is it that weird person who doesn't wear clothes? The young ox race Almighty asked. Yes. Lin Feng nodded subconsciously. Because his teacher was too poor, the elder ancestor's willpower statue was topless. He was startled. Wait, what do you mean? You've seen him before. Lin Feng stared straight at the young ox race major character. The appearance of his teacher in front of him wasn't the topless one. I've seen him before. The young ox race Almighty was honest. Really? Lin Feng's breathing became hurried. Why didn't you say so before? The young ox race Almighty looked at Lin Feng in shock. Didn't you ask us if we saw this senior on Hongming Mountain 123? We answered. Lin Feng was startled. So you mean that he wasn't on Hongming Mountain 123? You saw him on another Hongming Mount, right? The young ox race Almighty pointed into the distance. There, it's on Hongming Mountain 1041. Mobile version update website. Chapter 2944. Number 1041, Hongming Mountain. Lin Feng was stunned. It was very familiar, because it was right beside number 123 Hongming Mountain, and number 1041 Hongming Mountain had a very obvious anomaly, a blackboard. Along the way, he had passed through hundreds of Hongming Mountains, and number 1041 Hongming Mountain had the most blackboards. Although he had only seen 3, this was only the tip of the iceberg of number 1041 Hongming Mountain, because he had passed through Hongming Mountain directly. Even if it was not the most Hongming Mountains of 1888, it was definitely one of the most. Therefore, he had a very deep impression of it. Teacher, is he at number 1041 Hongming Mountain? Lin Feng had analyzed and listed 3 possibilities before. Hongming Mountain, which had a higher probability of finding his teacher, had the lowest probability. Hongming Mountain, which had a lower probability, had the second highest probability, and Hongming Mountain, which had a stable probability, had the highest probability. Lin Feng had originally planned to search number 66, Hongming Mountain, and number 1673 Hongming Mountain. If he could not find his teacher, then he would search Hongming Mountain, which had a lower probability. Under normal circumstances, Hongming Mountain, which had a lower probability, would still have more Almighties than Hongming Mountain, which had a higher probability. After all, they were all hoping for a fluke. However, he had only analyzed it. His teacher had always been at Hongming Mountain Xinjue. His teacher was the one who understood the situation of every Hongming Mountain the best. He knew where there were more Almighties and where there were fewer Almighties. This was because his teacher had stayed there for a total of 17,800 years. Furthermore, he had missed out on a very important point. Hongming Mountain, number 1041, and Hongming Mountain, number 123 were closely connected. If I'm not wrong, teacher should be at the intersection of Hongming Mountain 1041 and Hongming Mountain 123. This way, the chances of catching 2 Hongming Mountains at the same time has almost doubled, Lin Feng thought. The probability of Hongming Mountain number 1041 being there 100 years ago was 23%. By the 10th era, the probability had dropped to 7%. If this continued, the probability would continue to decrease. Moreover, there was a benefit to his teacher's choice, which was that he did not have to run around everywhere. Even if one of the Hongming Mountains appeared and he did not manage to get it, he did not have to waste time looking for a second Hongming Mountain. Sure enough, I didn't think as deeply as teacher. Lin Feng had already figured it out. Having just entered Hongming's 1,000 Perception Mountain, he was still lacking in experience. Fortunately, his luck was not bad. He met a powerful being here who had seen his teacher before, saving him a lot of effort. Did you meet him 500 years ago? Lin Feng asked. This was because the young Ox Clan powerful being had mentioned that they had stayed at number 123 Hongming Mountain for 500 years. Yes, the young Ox Clan powerful being replied. Was there anything strange about him at that time? Lin Feng immediately asked. Strange. The young Ox Clan powerful being thought for a moment and looked at Lin Feng. Does not wearing clothes count? Lin Feng did not know whether to laugh or cry. Not that. Then there's nothing strange about him. The young Ox Clan powerful being shook his head. Lin Feng nodded. In other words, something happened to his teacher during these 500 years. To be more precise, it should have happened in the last few eras if his teacher had not left Hongmeng Mountain, number 1041. Anomaly, blackboard. It was difficult for Lin Feng not to combine these two together. This was because the appearance of a blackboard in Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain was very strange. Moreover, there were not many blackboards in Hongmeng's Thousand Perception Mountain, so it was obvious that it had just appeared. However, something happened to his teacher at that time. If it's really a blackboard, could it be that he was injured by the universe-devouring insect? That shouldn't be the case. Teacher is a powerful being at the pinnacle. Even the universe-devouring insect queen could not hurt him at all. But if this is not a blackboard, but some other anomaly, no need to guess. We'll know once we take a look. Since he knew about his teacher's clues, Lin Feng did not stay any longer. He asked for more details and said goodbye to the young Ox Clan powerful being. He stepped onto Shirwan Li's back and headed straight for Hongmeng Mountain, number 1041. In the Land of Awakening, there were still a few powerful beings who had not left. They were shocked when they saw Shirwan Li and Lin Feng, who were millions of miles long. Brother Ox, are you close to him? A tiger-headed demon clan powerful being came over with envy in his eyes. Not close. The young Ox Clan powerful being shook his head. But he's a good person. Although his strength is a little weak, he's only an ultimate god. The surrounding almighties laughed when they heard that. What are they laughing about? The young Ox Clan powerful being was confused. The tiger-headed demon race's almighty expert laughed heartily. If you have the time, go take a stroll in the primordial world. Brother Ox, don't be as dull as Brother Ox. You don't even know the invincible sovereign whose name shook the absolute beginning recently? No wonder the other almighties laugh at you. Invincible Huang Zun? Who's that? The young Ox Clan powerful being said, should I know him? The tiger-headed demon clan powerful being's golden eyes flashed. Of course, he's the little hero of our Taichu. He swept Huang Zun's investiture of the gods and left a deep mark in the history of the Taichu world. Before he swept Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, he and a Garuda bird wiped out the elites of the 13 Corps. After he swept Huang Zun's investiture of the gods, his combat strength was comparable to a pinnacle powerful being. Now that he's an ultimate god, his combat strength has probably reached the limit of a powerful being. You said he's weak? Of course, the other powerful beings will laugh at you for your ignorance. With his strength, even 10 of you won't be able to defeat him. Even an ultimate god can be very powerful. The young Ox Clan powerful being was stunned. It took him a while to understand. Brother Tiger, the invincible Huang Zun you're talking about, could it be the one who said goodbye to you, idiot? The tiger-headed demon clan powerful being shook his head speechlessly. He turned around and left while muttering to himself, dumb cows have dumb luck. There's a 3% chance of encountering him. The invincible Huang Zun, an ultimate god? The limit of a powerful being? The young Ox Clan powerful being could not react for a long time. He only felt that it was unbelievable. However, it seemed to be true. Shirwan Li full speed ahead. Lin Feng rushed to Hongmeng Mountain 1041 without stopping. Fortunately, after entering Hongmeng's Mount Xinjue, he went straight to Hongmeng Mountain 123 without taking any detours. However, even if his target was Hongmeng Mountain 1041, the range was still quite large. The last time the Ox Clan powerful being saw his teacher, it was already 500 years ago. It was impossible for his teacher to not move at all during these 500 years. Is the blackboard anomaly related to teacher losing contact? This was what Lin Feng wanted to know the most. If it was, the range would be smaller. If it wasn't, why did they lose contact? The Land of Awakening did not appear on Mountain 1041. Or is it like what happened to me just now? Did teacher also encounter the Land of Awakening and enter a deep sleep without other powerful beings noticing? Lin Feng did not rule out this possibility. If he had entered the Land of Awakening directly, nothing would have happened to Hongmeng Mountain 123. No one knew that the Land of Awakening had appeared before. Of course, this was only Lin Feng's best guess. The truth was often cruel. Just as he returned to Hongmeng Mountain 1041, Lin Feng saw a shocking scene. Mobile version update website. Chapter 2945. The Taichu Origin Chaos Universe protected the Star Wheels. It was like a thin layer of blades, dragging a long tail of light behind it. It protected the Taichu Origin Chaos Universe. 88 Star Wheel points guarded 88 Hongmeng armies. This was one of the 5 super forces of the Taichu Origin Chaos Universe. Army. Every Hongmeng army was led by a Taichu general and had more than 100 universe rulers. The army was very powerful in the Taichu Origin Chaos Universe, and everyone was afraid of it. I wonder why the Grand Marshal has gathered us. It must be something urgent. I'm afraid it will affect the Taichu universe. Speaking of which, the 8 of us haven't gathered together in a long time. The 8 Hongmeng marshals gathered in the first marshal's palace. Each of them was a super being in the Taichu Origin Chaos universe. They each led 11 Hongmeng armies and were in charge of 8 regions in the Taichu territory. They rarely gathered together. When these 8 people who could cause an earthquake in the Taichu with a stomp of their feet gathered together, it meant that something big had happened. Hundreds of Hongmeng airflows surrounded a green-faced man with 4 hands behind his back and a golden tail dragging on the ground. There was a huge word on his chest, and his majestic aura completely suppressed the 8 Hongmeng marshals. His cold gaze swept past them like an emperor looking down on his subordinates. The first marshal. Greetings, Grand Marshal. The 8 Hongmeng marshals bowed in unison. No need for formalities. The first marshal raised his head. Hili, explain the situation. Yes, Grand Marshal. The one called Hili was a woman dressed in red battle clothes. She had a frosty expression, and her entire body seemed to be on fire. About 10 years ago, a blackboard appeared in the primordial 1,000 Perception Mountain before disappearing. 8 years ago, a black plate appeared in Homing's 1,000 Perception Mountain and disappeared. 7 years ago, Marshal Wali Hongmeng reported coldly. The other Hongmeng marshals listened attentively. Even though they were not in charge of Mount Qianjue and Hongmeng, the first marshal's summons meant that things were not so simple. In this era, blackboards keep appearing, especially Hongmeng Mountain number 1, Hongmeng Mountain number 333, and Hongmeng Mountain number 1041. Marshal Wali Hongmeng's almond-shaped eyes were cold. According to preliminary estimates, just these 3 Hongmeng mountains alone have as many as 10,000 blackboards. In the whole of Hongmeng's 1,000 Perception Mountain, the number of blackboards is about 30,000, and it's still increasing. Black Python Marshal Hongmeng frowned and said, "Just seal it." Marshal Kalar Hongmeng said, "Hongmeng's 1,000 Perception Mountain has a natural illusion that only Almighties can enter. With the number of Almighties in Wali Hongmeng's army, I'm afraid it's not enough." Marshal Wali Hongmeng said, "My elites are trying their best to seal off the blackboard of Mount Hongmeng Mountain number 333. This is a disaster area, and many blackboards are about to evolve into super blackboards." Super blackboards? The expressions of the Hongmeng marshals changed instantly. It'll be troublesome if they evolve into super blackboards. The appearance of blackboards in Hongmeng's 1,000 Perception Mountain is a headache. It's not that we can't seal them off, but it's limited by the area. Only Almighties can enter. Even though my army has a lot of Almighties, sealing off the blackboards was originally only done by normal universe warriors. But we have to do it. The Zergs are best at reproducing. If we don't exterminate them, they'll continue to appear and cause a disaster. According to He Li, the situation is very serious now. 3 Hongmeng mountains may have super blackboards. Once the universe-devouring insect queen and the universe-splitter insect king appear, we'll have to do it ourselves. The Hongmeng marshals discussed animatedly. They had led the Hongmeng army for so many eras and had seen all kinds of situations. The Zerg Scourge was not just 1 or 2 eras, but had always existed. If they didn't do anything about it, the situation would only worsen until it reached a point of no return. The appearance of super blackboards is nothing, but don't repeat Taisher's mistake 120 million years ago. The first marshal's voice rang out. causing the Hongmeng marshals' expressions to turn serious. Many of them had never experienced that period of history. However, they had heard that it was the calamity of Taishi's chaotic universe. Marshals, listen up. From now on, all Taichu marshals will assist Healy in exterminating the Zergs. Those who disobey kill. The first marshal's expression was cold and aloof. The word one on his armor was domineering. Healy, I'll leave this matter to you. If you slack off, the order will be flawed. Yes, sir. The 8 Hongmeng marshals bowed and said. Hongmeng Mountain 1041. Lin Feng stood on Sherwan Li's back and looked at the universe-devouring insects that filled the sky. He was shocked. He hadn't left Hongmeng Mountain 1041 for long and had only roughly searched Hongmeng Mountain 123. However, when he returned, it had already become like this. It was completely different from when he left. What a deep blackboard. Sherwanli flapped his black and white wings. No universe-devouring insects could get close. Lin Feng sensed the deep blackboards in the void. The energy they contained was much more vigorous than what he had seen before. A large number of universe-devouring insects flew out of the blackboard and flew back. The difference was that the universe-devouring insects that flew out of the blackboard devoured the energy, while the universe-devouring insects that flew back brought the energy back as if they were foraging for food. The blackboard here was different from the blackboard that had carried out the extermination mission previously. It was stronger and more oppressive. Can the blackboard also become stronger? Lin Feng was full of doubts. This had not been mentioned in the information of the top-notch artificial intelligence. What would happen to the blackboard after it became stronger? Would it breed more universe-devouring queen bugs and produce more universe-devouring insects? Although the universe-devouring insects can devour the universe, they do not have their own consciousness and are very weak. Lin Feng did not think that the universe-devouring insects could pose too much of a threat. Their strength was limited. Even the universe-devouring queen bug only had the combat power of a peak Yuan Venerate. He did not need to do anything. Sherwanli alone could easily exterminate them all. The extermination mission only consumed energy and time, but it was not dangerous. It really is the blackboard. Lin Feng shuttled through Hongmeng Mountain 1041 and saw one blackboard after another. Many almighties were impatiently killing the universe-devouring insects, but even more almighties had left because it was too much of a waste of time and energy. They could also go to other Hongmeng mountains and wait for the land of awakening. There was no need to stay here. Where could teacher be? Lin Feng was the most relaxed. Even though there were countless universe-devouring insects wreaking havoc, Sherwanli was there, and the universe-devouring insects could not get close at all. However, there were still no clues about teacher. Even if the blackboard was wreaking havoc, given teacher's strength, there was no reason for him to be injured by the universe-devouring insects. Two things happened at the same time. It was hard to believe that it was just a coincidence without any connection. Enter the blackboard and take a look. Lin Feng stepped in immediately. Mobile reading access. Chapter 2946. The blackboard had a devouring power 10,000 times stronger than a black hole. Wheat cultivators would be torn apart if they got close to the blackboard. However, it was easy for Lin Feng to enter the blackboard. When he was still a newbie, Lin Feng had entered the blackboard and killed the universe-devouring queen bug. He was familiar with it now. Even if I don't find teacher, it's not bad to get a huge universe sac. The universe sac could provide cosmic energy to strengthen the inner universe. Ordinary universe-devouring queen bug's universe sac wasn't useful to Lin Feng, but the universe-devouring queen bug's universe sac was still useful. Many a little makes a mickle. There are so many blackboards here, so there must be a lot of universe-devouring queen bugs. To Lin Feng, who had just become an ultimate god, strengthening the inner universe was the most important and the fastest way to increase his power. However, this blackboard was different. Lin Feng didn't see any universe-devouring queen bugs. The pitch-black plate was like the breathing of a demon, swallowing a terrifying, devouring power. Lin Feng was bold and powerful, so he slowly approached it. Although he had just become a god venerable, His actual fighting strength had already reached the limit of an almighty. That is, as he walked deeper, Lin Feng finally saw the true face of the Bug Clan in the blackboard. It was a monster with a huge body. Like the universe-devouring queen bug, it was a few thousand meters tall. It had a pair of eyes that shone with a cold green light. It had 8 side-like arms that were extremely sharp. Its body had overlapping shadows, and there was a purple sarcoma on its head. Universe-ripping sperm insect. Lin Feng knew that there were 2 types of Bug Clan. One was the universe-devouring queen bug that used its source soul to attack illusions. The other was the universe-ripping sperm insect that used its body to attack. The Bug Clan in front of him was the universe-ripping sperm insect. Around it were many smaller universe-ripping sperm insects. The universe-ripping sperm insect was different from the universe-devouring queen bug. It reproduced by splitting itself and absorbing cosmic energy through battle. Its 8 side-like arms had green veins that led to the sarcoma on its head. When the universe-ripping sperm insect absorbed enough energy and the sarcoma was full, it would split itself and form another universe-ripping sperm insect with the same power. It was terrifying. In terms of numbers, the universe-sundering insects were inferior to the universe-devouring insects. But in terms of quality and individual attack power, the universe-splitter bugs were much stronger than the time-devouring bugs. The only disadvantage of the universe-splitter worms was that after splitting, they would only have half of their original strength left. They would need to absorb more energy to recover. However, every time they split, not only would they be able to produce more universe splitters, but they would also be able to increase the upper limit of their strength, allowing them to continuously grow and evolve. The strength of the universe splitter insect can be determined from the universe lumps on its head. Green is the universe splitter worm. Purple is the universe splitter sperm worm. When purple turns black, the universe splitter sperm worm will enter its final evolution and become a universe splitter worm king. Lin Feng obtained this information from the military database, so it was very detailed. The information outside only mentioned the universe splitter insect and the universe splitter sperm insect. There was no mention of a universe splitter insect king. However, the Army's database clearly recorded the terror of the universe splitter insect king. Its strength complemented that of the universe-devouring insect monarch. If they worked together, even a limit almighty would find it difficult to deal with them. However, it was very difficult for the universe-devouring insect emperor and the universe-splitter insect king to appear. It required a large amount of energy, and it could be distinguished from the blackboard outside. There was a huge difference between an ordinary blackboard and a super blackboard. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless universe splitter worms charged at Lin Feng. Some are only a few dozen meters long, some are over 100 meters long, and some were hundreds of meters tall. Their waving arms were like sharp war blades. Although they were not as numerous as the universe-devouring worms, their individual attack power was rather strong. Many of the universe splitter worms were comparable to a godly venerate or even a peak yuan venerate. However, they were still unable to get close to Lin Feng. As he waved his war blade, Lin Feng's extraordinary intense sky path completely oppressed these universe splitter worms. Facing the only universe splitter sperm worm that had just evolved, Lin Feng cut it in half and killed it quickly. Absolute strength. Although the lumps left behind by the universe splitter sperm worm and the universe splitter sperm worm were different in form, they had the same energy and could strengthen the internal universe. Lin Feng accepted them without hesitation. The energy contained in the purple lumps of the universe splitter sperm worm is similar to that of the universe-devouring queen bug's huge universe sac. However, for ordinary universe splitter worms, the green lumps are much stronger than the universe-devouring worms. Although Lin Feng had Hongmeng's source crystals to expand and strengthen his internal universe, the efficiency was only average. Using the lumps to strengthen his internal universe was hundreds or thousands of times faster. He could directly absorb them in an instant. This was especially so for the purple cosmos, which had the most abundant energy. Lin Feng could clearly sense the opening of his internal universe. It was as if there was an additional piece in the primal chaos space. It was the most direct supplement to one's strength. There's nothing too special. After killing the universe splitter sperm worm, Lin Feng swept through the blackboard. It was almost the same as the previous cleanup mission. There was nothing different. Whoosh! Lin Feng appeared outside the blackboard, his war blade emitting a majestic power. Boom! The power of an almighty was fully displayed. The blackboard that was constantly devouring the surrounding energy was destroyed by an irresistible force. It was destroyed, and the blackboard's void returned to normal. During the cleanup mission that day, Lin Feng was unable to seal the blackboard. Now, he could easily destroy it. Sealing the blackboard and destroying the blackboard had the same function. The difference was that sealing the blackboard used the space law to erase the blackboard from the space of the Hongming Sea. As long as there was no other energy in the blackboard, it would not consume much space energy. However, it still required the power of an almighty. Therefore, sealing the blackboard army required the help of a warlord. Destroying the blackboard did not require space attainments. As long as there was enough power, it could be completely destroyed. Compared to sealing the blackboard, it was much more difficult. After all, the blackboard itself had a very strong energy. Just like the universe, it did not mean that you could destroy the universe just because your power surpassed it. It was the same for the blackboard. Destroying a normal blackboard would require the absolute power of an almighty transcendent. The greater the blackboard's energy, the more power it would require to destroy it. However, the current Lin Feng's power far exceeded that of an almighty transcendent. It was that simple to break 10,000 Dao with one force. Even the universe splitter insect king would not be able to kill teacher, let alone the universe splitter sperm worm. A large number of blackboards appeared in Hongming's 1,000 Perception Mountain. Although it was a very strange phenomenon, Lin Feng could not find any connection between it and the severing of the connection with his teacher's will. Whether it was the universe-devouring queen bug or the universe-splitter sperm worm, they only had the strength of a peak Yuan venerate. Even if their combat power was comparable to an almighty, his teacher was a peak almighty. There was an obvious difference between the two. It was not something that the universe-devouring queen bug and the universe-splitter sperm worm could kill with numbers. Teacher, what exactly happened? Lin Feng frowned. Chapter 29:47. Lin Feng's intuition told him that the interruption of his teachers must have something to do with the blackboard. If he couldn't find it, he would continue to search. However, Lin Feng didn't put all his eggs in one basket to search for the blackboard. Sherwan Li's flying speed was fast, and his search range was large. He searched around Hongming, Mountain 1041 for other possibilities. Lin Feng himself entered the blackboards one by one. Sweep. Whether it was the universe-devouring queen bug or the universe-splitting sperms, they couldn't cause any damage to Lin Feng. Many almighties would more or less suffer some damage when killing the universe-devouring queen bug. After all, the universe-devouring queen bug was good at soul attacks. Even if they killed it, their own soul would be slightly damaged. However, Lin Feng was a master of soul attacks. The universe-devouring queen bug's soul attack was like a child's knife dance in front of Lin Feng. Whether it was the power or the level of the absolute art, it was too far away. The blackboards here are much stronger than the ones I encountered during my previous cleanup mission. After Lin Feng destroyed dozens of blackboards, he discovered many patterns. Not only did the blackboards have energy, but they could also absorb energy and evolve. Every blackboard has a master, either the universe-devouring queen bug or the universe-splitting sperms. They only have one master. As the universe-devouring queen bug and the universe-splitting sperms grow, the blackboards will also grow. When they absorb enough energy, they will evolve into super blackboards and give birth to the universe-devouring queen bug and the universe-splitting king bug. Even the newborn universe-devouring queen bug and the universe-splitting king bug's battle power is comparable to a pinnacle almighty. Lin Feng obtained a lot of information from the army. With his current position in the army, he couldn't obtain any secret information. However, Lin Feng's position was special, and he had people in the army. The Taichu general who recruited him back then treated Lin Feng very well. In fact, Lin Feng now had a small status and reputation in the Taichu Origin Chaos universe. As long as Lin Feng was willing, any superpower would be willing to provide him with this information. According to the military's information, Hongmeng Hills 1, 333 Hongmeng Hills, and 1041 Hongmeng Hills are currently the most heavily affected by the insectoids. The military's main force is at Hongmeng Hills 333. Lin Feng understood this point because Hongmeng Mountain No. 1 was located in the deepest part of Hongmeng's Mount Xinjue. Just entering it would take a considerable amount of time. Mountain No. 333 was located in the periphery of Hongmeng's Mount Xinjue, so it was the most convenient to enter. As for Hongmeng Mountain No. 1041, it was located in the middle of Hongmeng's Mount Xinjue. According to the data, there is currently no super blackboard. After obtaining the detailed information, Lin Feng suspected that a super blackboard had appeared because the newborn Universe Devourer Insect Queen and Universe Splitter Insect King were able to fight Liao Miai's pinnacle powerhouses and cause damage to his teacher. However, the military's information should not be wrong. Or maybe a super blackboard has appeared, but the military has not found it. It was normal for there to be a lapse in concentration. Hongmeng Mountain No. 1041 was so huge that only powerhouses could enter Hongmeng's Mount Xinjue. It would not be easy to search the entire Hongmeng Mountain No. 1041. I hope Shi Wanli is good news. At this time, Shi Wanli was digging 3 feet into the ground to search for Hongmeng Mountain No. 1041. If he found a super blackboard, it might be related to his teachers while being cut off. However, Lin Feng did not want to find it, because if he did, the possibility of his teacher's death was very high. Until now, there were still many possibilities. His teacher could still be asleep, or he could have left Hongmeng Mountain No. 1041 during this period of time. After all, this was information from 500 years ago. Many things could happen in 500 years. Currently, this is the only clue. Lin Feng had no other way. The military's message showed that they wanted Lin Feng to help seal off the blackboard and help the military complete the mission of quelling the insect disaster, especially since the military's main force had not arrived yet. There were not many powerhouses in the military of Hongmeng Mountain No. 1041. Lin Feng and the military also reached an agreement. Zhu Ji would help the military seal off the blackboard, and the military would help him keep an eye out for clues about the elder ancestor Taichu. Borrowing the power of a superpower to find his teacher would undoubtedly increase the chances of success. Moreover, this was mutually beneficial. There were no favors involved. Before Shi Wanli found any useful clues, Lin Feng could only work on the current blackboard line. Continuing to sweep the blackboard would also benefit Lin Feng greatly. Now, he urgently needed to expand the universe in his body and strengthen his combat power. The new universe in his body was close to perfection. It was self-sufficient and formed a stable cycle. This was the source of Lin Feng's power. He did not need to rely on the external universe's energy. The stronger the universe in his body, the stronger Lin Feng's power. However, there are too many blackboards. The more Lin Feng swept, the more he felt that something was wrong. When he was carrying out the cleanup mission previously, the number of blackboards was fixed. However, the blackboards on Hongmeng Mountain No. 1041 kept popping up like bamboo shoots after the rain. The speed at which he destroyed the blackboards was already considered fast, but it could not compare to the speed at which the blackboards appeared. After destroying more than 100 blackboards, he realized that the number of blackboards did not decrease. Instead, there were more of them than before. Moreover, the energy of the blackboards kept increasing. His own power was like a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. It's the environment. Lin Feng understood. The environment created powerhouses. It could also create blackboards. What was this place? The 9th place in Taichu's territory, Hongmeng Mountain No. 10. Its energy was so strong that it was isolated from the Hongmeng Sea. The blackboards had appeared at the border of the Hongmeng Sea, near the ordinary universe. The energy absorbed could not compare to 1/10,000th of the Hongmeng Mountain number 10. Here, even powerhouses could cultivate with satisfaction. It was undoubtedly the best tonic for the blackboards. If this continues, a super blackboard will appear soon. The blackboards were growing stronger every second. Moreover, because of the uniqueness of Hongmeng Mountain number 10, it was very difficult to seal off the blackboards. Until now, the seal of blackboards on Hongmeng Mountain number 333 had not been completed. The cleanup of Hongmeng Mountain number 1 and Hongmeng Mountain number 1041 was even more difficult. Moreover, the areas where the blackboards appeared were not only Hongmeng Mountain number 1, but also Hongmeng Mountain number 333 and Hongmeng Mountain number 1041. Lin Feng had seen more than 10 Hongmeng mountains with blackboards during his journey. Moreover, that was only the tip of the iceberg. Many of the blackboards on Hongmeng mountains were not easy to find. Every Hongmeng mountain has enough nutrients to nourish and strengthen the blackboards. The army is obviously understaffed. They could take care of one side, but not the other. If this continues, it will be a disaster. Lin Feng was almost certain that the blackboards this time would be a disaster. This was Hongmeng Mountain number 10. The natural environment hindered the army's cleanup. However, even if it becomes a disaster, it will only alert the universe overlords. Lin Feng was not that worried about the insect plague. Such a situation had happened before. So what if there were universe-devouring insect emperors and universe-splitter insect kings everywhere? They were still vulnerable in front of the universe overlords. Moreover, he could not help even if he wanted to. The only thing he could do was to clean up more blackboards. Mobile reading access. Chapter 2948. Lin Feng did not know that the army had already started to move. The insect plague on Hongmeng's Mount Qianjue not only shocked the universe's dominators, but also the army's first marshal. With Marshal Wuli Hongmeng as the leader, he mobilized all 88 Hongmeng army legions to eliminate the blackboard. The front part was easy to destroy, but Hongmeng's Mount Qianjue was vast, and its depths were almost isolated from the Hongmeng Sea. There was no way to teleport, so they could only rush in. It would take a long time to reach Hongmeng Mountain 1041, where Lin Feng was, let alone the deepest Hongmeng Mountain 1. However, with Great General He Li and Great General Hongmeng as the commander and the Taichu origin generals taking the field, it didn't seem like it would be too much of a problem at the moment. It would just take some time and energy. The space cracked, and a Taichu general covered in black armor appeared. His aura was only comparable to a Hongmeng mountain. General Mo Kuei pays his respects to the marshal. Mo Kuei cupped his hands in greeting. Speak. Marshal Wuli Hongmeng's face was as cold as ice, but her body seemed to be burning with flames. She was also a universe's dominator, but her aura was obviously above the Taichu general. Super blackboard discovered at Mount Hongmeng Mountain 333. The Taichu general said. Bang! Endless flames spread out with Marshal Wuli Hongmeng as the center, turning the entire land into a sea of red. Even someone as strong as the Taichu general had a serious expression. Sure enough, as expected, Marshal Wuli Hongmeng's voice was cold. As expected, bring me to the super blackboard. Yes, Marshal. Mount Hongmeng Mountain 333. It was located at the periphery of Hongmeng's Mount Qianjue. The majestic Hongmeng army occupied the entire Hongmeng Mountain. No matter how many blackboards there were, they would not be able to withstand the blockade of thousands of powerful people, not to mention the Taichu generals. Even the super blackboard, the time-devouring bug queen whose combat power was comparable to a pinnacle almighty, was like a child in front of the devil puppet Taichu Yuanjiang. What a well-hidden place. Marshal Wuli Hongmeng's eyes shone brightly. The huge space crack opened like the eye of the devil, emitting a blood-red, evil aura. It was completely different from the ordinary blackboard. I sensed that the energy fluctuations here were abnormal. After destroying an ancient formation, I discovered the super blackboard. The demonic Taichu general said. Hongmeng's 1,000 perception mountains' ancient array could not be broken by brute force, even if it was at the limit of a powerful being. Only a universe master could do it so easily. The Bug Clan came prepared. Naturally, they hid well. How could they be exposed so easily? Marshal Wali Hongming said indifferently. Since there's a super blackboard here, Mount Hongming 1 and Hongming 1041 must have one too. Marshal, you are wise. The demonic Taichu general said. The Bug Clan has been planning this for a long time. With Mount Hongming 333, Hongming 1, and Hongming 1041 as the center, they quickly spread out and covered the entire Hongming Mount Xinjue. If we were a step late, I'm afraid Mount Xinjue would become a powerful stronghold for the Bug Clan and the Hongming Sea. Marshal Wali Hongming frowned. A super blackboard and a time-devouring bug queen were nothing but 10,000, 100,000, a million. So what? The most terrifying thing about the Bug Clan was their ability to reproduce. As long as there was enough energy, they could reproduce endlessly, continuously devouring the universe to strengthen themselves. The Taichu general could easily kill 1, 10, or even 100 time-devouring bug queens. But what about 100,000, a million? Conquering Hongming 1041 is not difficult, but Mount Hongming 1. The demonic Taichu general was also worried. If they were late, Mount Hongming 1 would be filled with super blackboards. The situation would be very serious. The army has already contacted Hongming 1 and Hongming 1041 near Mount Hongming 1 to provide assistance. They will continuously attack to slow down the speed of the blackboard's reproduction and deplete its power. Marshal Wali Hongming was not surprised. The other marshals have already led the Hongming army to Hongming 1041 and Mount Hongming 1. They're almost at Hongming 1041 now. We only need to coordinate the overall situation, infiltrate from the periphery, and conquer every Hongming mountain. The Hongming Sea has been the Hongming Sea for countless eras. The Bug Clan's invasion has never been successful. The other origin chaotic universes can defend, and our Taichu will not be an exception. The Taichu Hongming army will only get stronger. Mount Hongming 1041. The blackboard strength is getting stronger. Hundreds of blackboards have been destroyed in Lin Feng's hands, but at this time, the blackboards were emerging unstoppably. There were tens of thousands of them, and the hundreds that Lin Feng had destroyed were just a drop in the bucket. As time passed, the blackboards absorbed more energy, and more blackboards appeared. It was a vicious cycle. I hope the army will arrive soon. Lin Feng could only do his best to slow down the growth of the blackboards. Many of the blackboards had already shown signs of abnormalities. The dark light was tinged with blood, and an evil aura seeped out. Lin Feng knew from the information provided by the army that this phenomenon was the evolution of the blackboard into a super blackboard. Normally, the blackboard was just a crack in space. It had a suction force that was hundreds of times stronger than a super black hole. However, as the blackboard's energy increased, the crack in space would become bigger and bigger. Its energy would also become stronger, just like a demon slowly opening its eye. When the evil aura seeped in and the blood appeared, it meant that it was close to the transformation of a super blackboard. When a spatial crack was completely open like a demon's eye, it emitted a blood-red, evil aura and no longer had the devouring power. It transformed into a super blackboard, and the Universe Devourer Insect Queen or the Universe Splitter Insect King appeared. Both of them had the combat power of a peak powerhouse. One was good at origin soul attacks, while the other was good at close combat. Faintly, Lin Feng felt that something was wrong. He hovered in the void and scanned his surroundings cautiously. The pressure here was very strong, and it was not found anywhere else. However, he could not sense anything special. As a top-notch mind cultivator, Lin Feng's intuition was very sharp, and his perfect inner universe had a strong perception of the outside world. It's the origin soul. Soul and willpower were the same. Even if they did not attack, they could create a contact with aura. Although Lin Feng could not sense the other party's origin soul, his own origin soul had a subtle change. Whoosh! Following the origin soul, Lin Feng flew towards the direction of his intuition. Soon, he arrived in front of a dark giant cave. It was surrounded by cliffs, and the giant cave could not be seen from afar. One would only think that it was a very ordinary hill. However, this was a cave, and it was like a demon opening its bloody mouth. There's something inside. This cave was not special, and it was very ordinary. Li would definitely not notice it when he flew past, and if the other powerhouses were not very attentive, they would not notice it either. Step. Following his intuition, Lin Feng entered the pitch-black cave. The moment he stepped in, his heart skipped a beat. It was as if he had a bad premonition. Swish! Lin Feng's eyes lit up, and his footsteps were firm. Counter soldiers with arms, water with an earth weir. He had never been afraid.